Jiminy Crickets.
Jiminy Cricket is the name. I'm a happy-go-lucky fellow, always getting in wrong for singing my song. A merry old soul am I. Jiminy Cricket is the name. I'll be hanging around this evening. I'll be tipping my hat and telling you that Jiminy Cricket is the name.
Hello, Cricketeers, and welcome to August 2024 Dateline, Jiminy Crickets. Hello, Ruthie.
Hello, Chris. Hello, Cricketeers.
Today we're only doing one segment because it's a jam-packed segment, and it'll take us a while to go through the whole thing. So for the first time, I believe, in Dateline history, we're not doing a top 10 list.
Yeah.
But we're not retiring the segment. We're just skipping it this one time, so we have more time to cover our main topic, which is the D23 convention, which just happened this past weekend. We're recording this, it was 1 week ago. It was 1 week ago, and we're recording this on August 18th. So this is going to be a rundown of all the big announcements that were made at the Disney Studio and Disney Parks and Experiences panels, and we will share our thoughts and opinions on them as well. So D23, they called the event Horizons or something like that. And this was the picture that they put out for it, and everyone was trying to guess what clues this poster was giving about what was going to be announced. And in my mind, it really didn't give out anything. It was just a poster. Everybody was trying to predict. A lot of the predictions were accurate, and a lot were, not at all what happened. But that's the way predictions work.
Right.
So, the event started Friday last week. What was the date last Friday? I don't even remember.
I think it was 9, 10, and 11 that this happened.
So, this year they put out this really pretty sorcerer's hat. I hope they keep it, use it for something else. It would be a waste. They could take the D23 part down, because it looks like it's a separate thing. And there were two big changes this year as far as the format of the presentation. One was that they didn't have a live stream that was produced by Disney. That didn't stop many people from taking out their phones and recording it live, and they really weren't very strict about people doing that. They didn't collect phones or anything. I guess it would have been impossible given how big the events were, and that's the other change. They moved the three big panel conferences to a different venue, the Honda Center, which is a big auditorium nearby. The actual convention was at the convention center, but for the panels it was at this nearby theater. Do you remember how many people it holds?
No, I don't. Not off the top of my head, no.
Well, obviously looking at this picture, it's thousands. This is just the front. It doesn't show you how far back it goes, but it was huge. And so before we get started, Ruthie, you have a few notes about how the first panel on Friday night started. So why don't you share that with our audience?
Okay. So this was the Friday night. So that's another thing really that they changed these big panels used to be like first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
And so that's why everybody would get up at like 2 in the morning and start lining up, even though they tell you cannot line
Right.
up until 4 a.m. People
Right.
would still go and line up. And
Right.
then those were the people that would get in because it was,
Right.
limited seating.
This is
And
more
then-
democratic.
Yes.
And it also, because it was a bigger venue, more people were able to attend. So
Exactly.
in fact,
And
there were some
they-
empty seats I saw. So
Mhm.
it looks like everyone who wanted to go was able to go. So that's
Yeah.
good.
And they also provided shuttles from the convention center to
Right.
the Honda Center.
This
I think
was
it's
a
like
smart-
a 15-minute drive or something.
Overall, this was a very smart decision. I just wish they would have streamed it. Maybe next year.
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
in 2 years. We'll see. But I think
So-
this is the way to go from now on for sure.
Mhm. For this panel, though, the Disney Showcase, the movies and stuff, they were actually pretty strict about live streaming because of all the trailers and stuff that they were showing.
Right,
They
right.
have to keep that under wraps.
Yeah, I didn't watch
Otherwise-
that. I only watched the parks.
Right.
So I didn't know that.
I was watching this live reaction. So there was a group of people sitting at a table and somebody was feeding them the information. So I was hearing it live, but I wasn't seeing it.
So yeah, the parks panel, I was able to watch it from somebody recording it on their phone
Right.
live. So, but
Yeah,
I didn't.
so-
yeah.
They were cracking down a little bit. They weren't taking people's phones, but from what I heard, they had people walking around and they would tell people to
Put
stop
their phones away.
recording
Yeah.
or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. But then not so much at the parks panel.
Right.
Anyway, so this was a Friday evening, August 9th.
Mhm.
And the other thing, these two panels that we're going to talk about were like double the length that they're normally are,
Right.
too. So
And it wasn't because, well, they did have a lot of announcements, but one of the main reasons it was so long is they had so many musical performances.
yeah. Mhm.
Especially
More
in the
so
parks.
the second one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was what I was going to say, more so in the parks panel. I mean, it was like almost 50% musical performances.
Yeah. All right, so just a couple of announcements that came at the beginning of this. So Bob Iger came out and welcomed everybody. He in the past has done like these, he hosted these.
Yeah.
But more actually the parks, not so much the movies, but
Right.
I think this is the only time that he came out actually on stage to greet
For the-
everybody.
Right. And then he went away and we
Yeah.
never saw him again, ever.
Right. I don't
And
know,
we-
he might have been
And
at
we
the-
never will. No, I'm
Right.
kidding.
That wasn't
He
even
knew-
really him. That
He
was
came
Hollywood.
out, he said hello, and then he ran because he knew.
Yeah.
He didn't want tomatoes thrown.
He might have been at the legend ceremony, but I don't know.
Oh,
I didn't
yeah,
look.
I didn't watch. Well, they didn't stream any of it, so it's hard to.
Well, it's on Disney Plus now. You can go.
oh,
back
it
and watch
is?
if you want.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. They announced that they were going to put it on the day after on Disney Plus.
Okay.
So, anyway, we're not talking about the legends.
Right.
So how they opened this show, they started with a performance of a new song from Moana 2, and they actually had the person who provides Moana's voice. Her name is Auli'i Cravalho, as
Uh-huh.
the same person from the original movie. She came out and she sang. She also sang the songs. In
Is
the
she going to
movies.
be in the live action version?
I don't know.
Oh.
It-
I mean, like.
she probably isn't.
Does she
because
look
I
like
think-
Moana? Like.
Similar, but I think she's a little older than what they
Oh,
want Moana
and
to
she
be.
may not be an
age-wise.
actress. She may just
Yeah.
be a singer and not an actress. Although
think
she'd
she
have
is
to
an
be an
actress.
actress because she did the dialogue for the.
Yeah,
And maybe
she
she's
is
too
an
old.
actress.
Maybe she's too
But-
old.
Yeah, I think it's just I don't
'Cause
want to
she's
say
supposed
too
to
old,
be like-
making her sound like she is.
No,
old.
no. The character is like in her late teen, like 18, 19.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
She's too
So
old to
anyway.
be 19, but she's not
Right,
old.
Right. I mean, I actually think she would do a great job, but I don't think that they're going in that direction.
Maybe she could play
as
the
far as that
grandmother,
film.
and they could make her look older, and she could play the
Right.
grandmother. Oh,
No,
although
no,
she
not that
died.
old.
She did die in the... But
Yeah.
she might be able... Well, they probably just have the same actress who did the voice in the original do her voice. Because she would come back as a spirit.
Yeah.
Because
Yep.
she did in the movie, the original.
Mhm. So after they did that performance, they showed a full-length trailer, because before this they've only released a
The
teaser.
teaser. Mhm.
And then so they showed that to the audience, and then that also was available online for the public on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then also at the end of this Moana section, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson came out, to kind of promote, Maui is in the movie as well. So he's doing a little bit of promotion for Moana 2.
And he is playing Maui.
Yeah, in the live action.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's doing the voice for Moana 2. Because Moana, the live action, is a remake of Moana 1. And then Moana 2 is a sequel that's animated. So you're not confused.
But The Rock is in all of it.
Yes. Whatever it is, it's got The Rock in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Rock is as solid as a rock.
Yeah. I think his production company is involved in making that live action Moana, which is why he's part of it.
I'm curious to see how he will... Did they show how he's going to look as the character? Are they going to put that weird wig on his head?
No, they didn't even talk about that.
Oh, really?
So,
okay. It must be further...
Yeah.
Like, farther away than... I thought it was going to come out soon, but... Maybe the sequel is more impending than the remake.
Yes, it is. Because this is coming out in November.
Okay.
In theaters.
Okay.
So then the other thing that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson did was he stayed on stage and announced that he is making a live action film called Monster Jam, and this would take you into the world of Monster Jam on high octane live action adventure. So this is like Monster Jam is like the big monster truck rallies and stuff like that.
This sounds like Fast and Furious. Disney's trying to cash in on those fans of Fast and Furious.
Possibly.
Sounds like the same audience would enjoy this movie, and it's also got Dwayne "The Rock" involved. So,
and I guess this
is he in it, or is he just producing it? I
don't think he's in it.
Okay.
But, well, here's the thing, though. This movie is going to be from the perspective of the trucks. So maybe he might be providing a voice or something like that.
Oh, so it's animated.
No, it's not. It's live action.
Well, it's probably
So,
going
like,
to be
real trucks.
It might be computer animated, so it looks like real trucks, but they're actually CGI. Unless they're just having voiceovers, like
maybe. I don't know, because this is
talking.
very limited information.
Look who's talking with cars.
Yeah.
That'll be weird.
It could be. So anyway, that was announced. And then the next thing that happened was James Cameron, the director of all the Avatar movies, came out and he announced that the title for Avatar 3 is not Avatar 3, thank God. It's called Avatar Fire and Ash.
Yes, I heard that. I should have paid closer attention to this paragraph, Ruthie, because these are all announcements. I didn't realize that there were announcements being made in this paragraph. I sort of just skipped it and didn't pick out pictures. I should have picked out pictures. But after we get to our Pixar section, we will have pictures for every single announcement. I apologize. This is my fault that I didn't do pictures for this section. I didn't realize. I thought they were just talking.
We're almost done with it anyway.
I thought they were just talking about things that had already happened, but that was my bad.
Yeah.
But we're not looking at like this one picture for the whole show. I just want you all to know that.
Right. So this is going to be a film that will introduce a Na'vi clan called the Ash People. And this new clan will complicate the human versus Na'vi narrative from the first two movies. So it's, obviously it's a sequel. It still has the same main family, the Sully family. I guess that's what they call them.
I haven't seen any of these movies, so I have no idea.
He also brought the main two stars, Zoe Saldana and James no, James. Why did I say James? Sam
Sam.
Worthington. They came
And
out
his dog Spot.
and they were also sharing, concept art and stuff like that. So they already filmed this movie because they filmed 2 and 3 at the same time.
Yeah.
But all the
there's a lot of
virtual
post production
were done obviously for the second one before this one. So yeah.
Right. And there's a lot of post production, and also they want to space it out so that it's
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So Avatar 3, Fire and Ash is going to be released
so
in theater
is the
December
next one going to be, let's see, we've got water. The first one is land. Even though they don't say it's land, it is.
Right.
So we got land, water, fire. So the next one is going to be air.
Yeah.
So it'll be
Which
about...
the first one is kind of a little bit air as well. So
yeah, because they have the dragons.
Yeah, the banshees.
Yeah, which you get to experience at the attraction at Animal Kingdom. Okay, so now we're going to have special pictures for everything. That was just sort of the introduction of the event. And then they got into the nitty-gritty of dividing things up into categories by the different production arms of the Disney studio. So...
all right, so now we're into Pixar.
Right. So we're talking about all the things that were announced.
Yep.
And the first section was Pixar.
Yeah. And then it started out with Pete Docter, who is like the person who runs Pixar now.
Yes.
And he came out and thanked everybody for making Inside Out 2 the highest grossing animated film ever, which it is.
Yeah,
so
surprising.
If you saw it, you helped.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I saw the original, and I probably will enjoy watching the sequel when it's... Is it out on Disney Plus yet? Probably not.
No, not yet, no.
No, they kind of stopped releasing them on Disney Plus so soon.
Yeah. I mean, eventually it will be, but not right now.
Right. It'll be a while, but it's... for a while, they were, like, releasing them at almost the same time.
Right.
But they're not doing that. They stopped doing that anymore. Okay, so let's get to our announcements. What was the first thing?
So the next thing he did was he announced a spin-off series of the Inside Out 2 franchise called Dream Productions. This is in the works for Disney Plus for a 2025 release. And this Dream Productions takes place between the first movie and the second.
Is this a series or a made-for-TV or made-for-Disney Plus series?
It's a series.
It is a series, okay.
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. So this is going to focus on the movie studio that they showed in the first movie where Riley's dreams are made every night.
Right.
So it's going to basically be about... basically her dreams are like movies and how they make them.
Right.
So she's going to obviously have different dreams every time.
So they can go in any direction because it's a dream. It doesn't have to be about the Inside Out universe. It can be about anything.
Right.
Because they're just her dreams. Right.
Yeah. Yep.
That'll be
so
interesting.
That's
kind of a fun premise. Yeah, I like
it
that.
It is.
I think that's a good idea for a series because it's not going to be just like, here are the characters getting into this situation. It'll be different. Each episode will be unique and special.
Yeah.
So I like that. I'll let you know whether or not I like something, and then we'll just quickly, and then at the end of each segment, we'll get in. Both of us will share our complete thoughts about each section. So what's next, Ruthie?
So next is Win or Lose. This was previously announced as the first Pixar series that's coming to Disney Plus. It was announced a few years ago, but now it's actually going to premiere beginning December 6th, 2024, so around Christmas time this year. And they showed a full trailer. And so now we know a little bit more about this. And I think that each episode is going to focus on a different person in the team.
And I'm just going to give very quick initial thoughts for each thing. And my initial thoughts are, I'm getting Bad News Bears and Mighty Ducks vibes. And I don't have, and I have nothing negative. I'm kind of neutral on this one. So what's next?
All right. So next, Andrew Stanton. He's like a regular director at Pixar. He directed WALL-E and Finding Nemo. And they announced that he's going to direct Toy Story 5. They did show a short teaser, which is not released. Actually,
Right.
no, they did release, literally,
put it
this
up.
is not even a teaser. It's like a 10-second video.
Right. It's a teaser.
Right. But this film, he did say this, that the film was going to focus on how Woody, Buzz, Jesse, and the rest of the gang their jobs get exponentially harder when they have to go head-to-head with, technology.
Right. There's a picture.
Kids are all
There's a picture of Bonnie under the covers with her
like an iPad.
tablet. Yeah, and there's on the edge of the bed, like looking, like, why are you ignoring us?
Yeah.
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 I
So
couldn't
toys
find that
versus
picture,
technology.
but right.
Yeah.
And
And this film is set to be released summer 2026.
I don't like this one, but I won't go into details. You can probably guess why I would not be happy about this one. But anyway, moving on.
So they also announced a new film, which is called Hoppers, set to be released in theaters in 2026. They didn't announce specifically when. And this is an original story where scientists have discovered how to hop, quote unquote, human consciousness into lifelike robotic animals, allowing people to communicate with animals as animals. So the adventure focuses on Mabel, an animal lover who seizes an opportunity to use this technology, uncovering mysteries within the animal world that are beyond anything she could have imagined.
So, what I like this in that it's an original idea. It's not a remake. And I don't know enough about it to have any other opinion on it.
Right.
But I am neutral on this one so far. That could change when I find out more about it.
Yeah.
And what's next?
So next they showed an exclusive trailer, so this was not released online, of the newest Pixar film, Elio, and this is coming to theaters June 13th, 2025. And this film is about an 11-year-old boy who is accidentally transported to an interplanetary organization and mistaken for Earth's ambassador. And they also announced that Zoe Saldana, who is the main protagonist in the Avatar films, she's providing the voice of Elio's aunt.
Right. So again, I'm happy that it's an original thing, and I know nothing about it, so I'm neutral on it. And then last but not least, you might be surprised about my opinion on this. Last but not least.
So they announced that they are developing an Incredibles 3 movie with the same director, Brad Bird. And that was like where they ended it. So that was like the big announcement that ended their segment.
So on Incredibles 3, I am actually positive about this. You might have thought because it's a sequel I would be negative. I am on record saying that this is the type of franchise that negates sequels because they're superheroes and they get into different adventures. That's the nature of a superhero type situation. So this is the type of franchise that is built for sequels. And so I have high expectations, and I'm happy that they're making a sequel, and I have said that in the past, so I don't have a problem. Do you have any final thoughts about Pixar and the announcements, Ruthie?
Yeah, I am excited about Dream Productions. I think that's going to be fun. It's also going to be like an interesting topic to watch a series on Disney Plus. So I think I like that. And I like the idea of hoppers. I want to know more. I know it was just a general description, but I'm sure that with Pixar doing this story, it's going to be way more interesting than just a little synopsis. So I'm really interested in that. And then from what I heard, the people who saw the Elio trailer said it looked really good. But since we didn't get a chance to see it, I can't really say. But I'm looking forward to seeing that trailer and getting to know more about that. And Incredibles 3 is Incredibles 3. It's like, whatever, it makes sense to make it. I'm sure it's going to make $1 billion, just like the other ones.
I'm sure it'll be good.
Right. So, I mean, but Incredibles isn't my favorite Pixar, so I'm fine with it. I'll probably go see it.
I like Incredibles. I like it a lot, but again, it's not my favorite either. But again, I have no issue about anything other than Toy Story 5. They need to stop with the Toy Story. Enough. We've already
they should have already stopped.
They should have stopped at 3. There was no reason to make 4, and there's other than as a cash grab, and there's definitely no reason for a 5. Focus on new stuff. That's where they shine, and that's where Pixar really is best, is completely original stories. And I mean, I'm making an exception for Incredibles because of what I said, but Toy Story is not that kind of a situation. Like, a superhero is sort of, it originated from comic books, and they just go on for years and years.
Right.
And they have new adventures every issue. So, I mean, this is, you know, that's made for that type of situation. But enough with the Toy Story. I haven't seen 4, and I'm definitely not excited to see 5. So let's move on to Disney Animation Studios.
Yes.
There's not a lot.
No, not a lot. I think they're kind of holding their cards close to the vest here. But with the first one that they announced, which is not even a new movie because they had announced this previously, Zootopia 2, they revealed that there's going to be a new character named Gary the Viper, and he's being voiced by Ke-Huy Quan. And he is, he's having a resurgence recently in the last couple years, so they're bringing him. He actually, I believe he came on stage as well.
Okay.
So this film finds brave rabbit cop Judy Hopps and her friend Fox Nick Wilde teaming up again to crack a new case.
Is Bonnie Hunt and what's his name coming back to do their voices?
I believe so.
Oh, good. Okay.
And this movie is set to be released November 26, 2025.
Okay, again, not a big fan of sequels, and I have no excitement about this, and I'm kind of annoyed that they keep doing sequels. That's my opinion. I like the first one, but I think it's its own story, and it doesn't need to have a sequel. And the other thing I heard somewhere is how the reptiles are going to be they're like a gang of villains. It's like an organized crime circuit. So he's
they kind of already did that in the first movie.
Well, that's the focus of this movie.
A mafia, a little mafia thing.
Well, that's the focus of this movie, is with the reptiles, and that character you just talked about is going to be like the
leader.
He's either the leader, or he's like the thug that does all the bidding of the leader, like the main thug that does all, like the one that does all the stuff that the leader tells him to do. I don't know. Okay. That's all I know.
Yeah.
So then there was one other thing, and this is new information, but not surprising.
Right. Well, it's not really new, because, again, they had announced that they are going to make more Frozen films.
Yeah.
And they actually showed concept art for Frozen 3, which is set to hit theaters in 2027. And Jennifer Lee, who is the head of the animation department, came out, and she was the one who made these 2 announcements. But she did say that they had so many questions after Frozen 2 that they actually feel that there's 2 more movies to make, so they basically announced a Frozen 4.
Jeez.
Yeah.
My question is why?
Yeah. Well,
so what are your final thoughts on Disney Animation? This is all we have from Disney Animation. What are your final thoughts?
So this is my final thought. I actually am fine with Zootopia 2. And Frozen 3, yes, that's very predictable. But here's my thought, and this actually goes more than just this, but since these 2 movies have this in common, this is my annoyance here. Can you not be more original than Zootopia 2 and Frozen 3? Can you have a better title than that? Because that is so unoriginal. You can put
Zootopia
the cage of reptiles or something like that.
Zootopia the cage is open.
Yeah, something like that. Come on.
Zootopia open cage.
I'm just so tired of it. Like, it's just like even Moana 2. Moana 2 should not be called Moana 2. It should be like
Or it could be called Moana 2 and then
Islands
have
of
a...
Adventure. I don't know, something like that.
It could have Moana 2 and then a subtitle.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just think that's just so lazy. And it bothers me. So anyway, that's my real thinking. But I'll probably see all these movies, so it's fine.
You can probably count on me not seeing either one. So, unless I'm forced to, by Ruthie.
No.
Okay.
Well, maybe eventually.
Okay, so we're up to our third segment, and this is Disney on Broadway, and they had actually more to talk about this than they did in animation.
Right.
So what was said, Ruthie?
So first they started out with a medley of performances of songs from different Disney musicals, because I don't know if you know, but there's been a lot of Disney musicals on Broadway.
Yeah.
So that was a big performance there.
Mm-hmm.
And then they announced that, so Frozen the musical, was on Broadway. They filmed it similar to the way that they filmed Hamilton, like a live onstage performance, and they're going to release it as a film on Disney Plus in 2025.
Okay.
So that's the first thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if the musical is still on Broadway. It might not be.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know for sure either.
I don't really follow the Broadway stuff
Yeah.
as close.
So then they also announced a new musical that is going to be based on Hercules, the film, and this will debut in London's West End in summer 2025. And then the last announcement, they are actually developing a stage adaptation of the musical film The Greatest Showman. So this is currently in development. We don't have any, images of the
Is Hugh Jackman going to be in it? I know he's done Broadway stuff.
I don't know.
They didn't say. Maybe
He's
it
done
hasn't been
multiple
cast
Broadway shows, so
Maybe it hasn't been cast yet.
yeah. I would love it if he's in it, and that would actually be a huge draw. Because he's also having a moment. So.
Do you have any final thoughts about Broadway? I don't.
I do.
Okay.
First of all, I love the fact that they're turning Hercules into a musical. That's going to be fun. I have no idea if I'll ever be able to see it because it's opening in London, so who knows when it's going to come to America.
Well, maybe they'll do the same thing they're doing with Frozen and they'll film it.
Yeah, maybe. But I think the adaptation of that movie, The Greatest Showman, into a musical, that's genius. And I cannot wait to watch this. This is so fun to me. I love that movie.
I haven't seen it.
You need to watch it.
Does it have modern music?
And it's on Disney Plus.
Is it modern music or is it?
A little bit, yeah.
See, that's why I'm not excited. If it was like music from the period where it takes place, then I would have already seen it by now. That's what I want.
But it's not like, it's more kind of modern Broadway, not like pop.
Yeah, I'm not into that either.
Yeah.
I'm not into
Rent.
Rent.
Oh, this sounds like an 80s song. It's not like that.
I'm not into Rent. And I'm not into that kind of stuff. Yeah. Not my
but
thing.
It's such a great movie, and I love that they're making this into a musical, a Broadway musical, and hopefully one day I can see.
Is this Barnum Bailey?
Yes.
P.T. Barnum? He's playing P.T.?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm familiar with the biography of P.T. Barnum. That must be Tiny Tim in the picture.
I'm not sure.
The little person standing next to him with the...
I don't remember the name of the other characters.
He's dressed like Napoleon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was famously his... one of his performers was Tiny Tim, who was a little person. Okay, so moving on to our next section, and Ruthie will have a lot more to say about this than me. My thoughts on this is I don't care. So we're talking about
all right.
Star Wars, nothing but Star Wars. Okay, go ahead.
So the first part of Star Wars, Jude Law came out on stage, and since he is starring in the Skeleton Crew, the next Disney Plus series that's Star Wars has already produced, the first 2 episodes are premiering on December 3rd, 2024. So again, that's this December. The show will start airing, and of course,
I'm getting
after
Captain
the first...
EO vibes with the elephant character.
Well, similar. But they actually, I've heard a couple of things. I'll tell you.
We're going in!
So, this show will introduce us to 4 kids who make a mysterious discovery on their home planet that leads them to get lost in a strange and dangerous galaxy. They get help from Jude Law, who stars as a Jedi. So basically, I've heard a couple of things. This is like Goonies. This is like E.T. This is also like Stranger Things. So a group of kids,
But whatever it is, it's not like something that's not been done before, which is annoying to me.
Well, I mean, Star Wars has
cashing in on what's already popular. They're not trying to create the popular. They're trying to imitate the popular, which is not what Disney used to do.
Well,
but anyway,
this is Star Wars, so it's a little bit different. But they also did release a trailer online for this show, since it is coming out very soon. So you guys can watch that if you haven't already. And you can kind of see in the trailer the vibe of like an E.T. Goonies type of vibe. So that's the first thing. So Jude Law just came out to announce that, so then he left. And then...
Thank God. No, I'm kidding. I like Jude Law.
Yeah, so do I. Then Diego Luna, who is the star of Andor, he's also in Rogue One. He's the star of Rogue One and also the show Andor. We already knew that it was
Andor what?
Season 2.
But you said
we already knew that there was
What's it also called? And/or?
No.
Oh.
No, it's not that.
Oh.
So they've been making this. This is, in process right now. He revealed some behind the scenes footage, so it's not even really a trailer yet. And this is coming to Disney Plus sometimes next year. This will take place over a 4-year timeline with K2SO and Admiral Krennic from the Rogue One films. They will be featured in the show. So the one thing about Andor is this is critically acclaimed as the best series that Star Wars has produced for Disney Plus, which I agree. So if you haven't watched it, it's very good. You don't really need to be very versed in the Star Wars universe to watch this show. And I just think it's really good. So I'm excited for this season 2.
All right.
And then the last thing they announced, so Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni came out on stage and they showed footage of the new Star Wars film that they literally just started filming just a few weeks before this announcement. And it's The Mandalorian and Grogu, which this was already announced previously. And it's coming to theaters May 22nd, 2026. And this is, The Mandalorian. What was that?
I can hardly wait.
I know. This is The Mandalorian and his apprentice Grogu, and they embark on an exciting new Star Wars adventure. So this is basically, there's been 3 seasons of The Mandalorian on Disney Plus, so this is essentially season 4. Okay. But they're making it into a film.
Okay. We're doing a sequel. Okay.
So all fun stuff. I'm looking forward to all of that, and I will be watching all of it.
And are you having any more final thoughts about Star Wars? Nothing but Star Wars. No.
Like I said, I'm looking forward to all of it. So.
Okay. And then next is the segment I couldn't sleep last night because I was so excited to talk about this.
Chris's favorite.
Yeah. So what's happening in Marvel Land?
Okay. So first this started with a video on screen with Ryan Reynolds, and he shared a thank you message video to the fans for the success of Deadpool and Wolverine, which is now, not at the time, but it is now, the biggest rated R film. So this is a rated R film that has made the most money than any other rated R film.
Yeah, didn't Disney at one time like not make rated R films?
Correct. Marvel, correct. They did not make rated R. So this is
Well,
the first rated R.
Disney
Marvel
owns
film.
Marvel and doesn't hide the fact that it's Disney, so it technically and literally is Disney making an R-rated film.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. I'm not happy about that. I don't think that's a good thing. Because it's Disney. And Walt would not approve of R-rated movies.
I don't think when people think Marvel, they think immediately Disney, and especially like when you're talking about Deadpool. So, and the reason why it's rated R is because
they shouldn't be doing Deadpool if they don't think Disney when they think Deadpool. I don't like vulgarity in anything.
They will continue to do Deadpool because
I know they will.
Over $1 billion.
I know they will, but I don't approve of it. Not everything in this world is about money. It might be to Disney now, but at one point it wasn't. Well, at one point it wasn't about just money to Disney. It was about creating family entertainment. So I don't like it, and that's my opinion.
I think it's, I think your opinion is a little too harsh because I don't think if Walt was still here, he probably wouldn't have bought Marvel. So.
Well, there you go.
Yes.
That's the bottom line behind the whole thing.
You have to judge it as a separate entity.
I don't think Disney should be involved in Marvel at all. But anyway, go ahead.
Too late. That's not changing ever. Anyway, so he shared a thank you video, and then they brought out Anthony Mackie, who is the star of the next upcoming Marvel film, Captain America: Brave New World.
Oh. And
this follows the not this one.
I have my pictures mixed up.
Yeah, okay. This one, yeah. So he came out and they showed additional footage. They showed a big trailer at San Diego Comic-Con, which was just in July of this film. So it was basically the same thing that they showed here. And this film is going to be released February 14th, 2025.
Hold on, let me get something to write that down.
Yes, I know. Don't worry, I'll remind you.
Oh, God. Don't remind me.
So the next thing they showed was a clip of the cast of Fantastic Four. And at San Diego Comic-Con, they announced that the movie is going to be called Fantastic Four: The First Steps. And this movie is currently filming, and it's
I think they should call it Fantastic Four: The 12 Steps.
No. Anyway, so
because in order to see it, you need to be drunk.
No. Come on, let's not be rude. The other people like this besides me. So, anyway, so this is going to be. They showed a 60s montage, the same thing that they showed at San Diego Comic-Con, but just to kind of let other people see it as well. So, like I said, this has just started filming, and this is a big thing for Marvel, which is why they're already promoting it. And then the next thing they talked about, Ryan Coogler, the director of Black Panther, he came out and talked about the upcoming Disney Plus show Ironheart, which this has been talked about forever, and we never knew when it was going to be coming out, but it will sometime in 2025 be on Disney Plus. They didn't specifically say anything other than 2025. And then some of the cast members came out to talk about this as well. And then two more things. So they also talked about Daredevil Born Again, which is an upcoming show that's also coming to Disney Plus. This is another big thing that a lot of fans have been waiting for, because this is basically kind of like a follow-up to the series that they had on Netflix, the Daredevil Netflix show. And they all came on stage, the cast, to debut footage, and then season 1 will arrive on Disney Plus March 2025, and they are already in the works on a season 2. So they're very excited about this. This is going to be a big thing when it comes out. So, and it's the same cast from the Netflix show too, which is a huge deal for fans. And then finally, they showed a new trailer for the upcoming Disney Plus show Agatha All Along, and this starts streaming September 18th, so very soon, 2024. And the cast actually performed a song from it, which was really cool. I did get to see a clip of that later, not live, but I'm very excited for this show, and this is going to be fun to watch, and I like the song.
Well, we all knew from the beginning that it was Agatha all along.
Yep.
Do you have any final thoughts about Marvel? I have already pretty much shared my thoughts. I don't need to say anything else.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited for all of this stuff. I will be watching all of it, so yeah, we can just move on and finish up this segment.
Okay, good luck. So the next section is Walt Disney live action, and that I put a question mark because live action? Some isn't to me live action, but
yeah,
that's what they like to label it, whatever. So, what's first?
Okay, so the first thing...
Wait a minute. Does he have horns on his head? And is that on purpose?
I did not watch this, but anyway.
Oh, wait a
is
minit.
Percy Jackson.
He's got goat body, so he's a goat person. So probably yes.
So Percy Jackson, this is a series of books, and they made a season of the show that came out this year on Disney Plus. And it's like a boy who, it's similar to like Hercules, where he's a boy on Earth, but he has to fight like Greek gods and stuff like that. So
okay,
it's similar to that.
It's confusing because everybody else is wearing contemporary clothing, and then we have this goat man in a tank top.
I mean, I haven't seen it, so I don't know what's going on.
And wait a minute, he has too many fingers. Is this a CGI? 1, 2, 3. No, he has 5 fingers. 3 of his fingers look identical for some reason. It looks weird. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the season 2 is going to be called Sea of Monsters. So Percy Jackson, Sea of Monsters, and they did show a short trailer which was released online, but there's no release date yet for this. But they're just kind of showing that they know that the first season was popular, and so they're doing a second season.
I wonder what they're looking at. They look shocked.
So the next thing that happened is world-renowned magician David Blaine came out, and he introduced that he is having a new show on National Geographic. It's called David Blaine Do Not Attempt. And they played a trailer of the show, which was released online.
He's the guy that he's like Houdini. He locks himself up in cages similar. And underwater and stuff,
Yeah, he does some pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So this show is going to be released on Disney Plus and Hulu in 2025. And actually, this is going to be kind of hard for me to describe because I wasn't there. I've seen video of it, but so he actually did a magic card trick with the entire audience.
With the audience, okay.
Yeah.
Because he's a magician.
Right. And apparently this was like the largest card trick with the largest amount of people.
Was Guinness there?
Who?
Guinness World Records?
Oh, I don't know. So anyway, if you want to know more about that, you should look for it online. There's YouTube videos about the whole thing, but it's really cool, the trick that he did. It was really cool.
All right. And
then the next thing is that Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Curtis came out to talk about their new film, which was called Freaky Friday 2, but now it's called Freakier Friday. So thank God it's not Freaky Friday 2.
There's no images of it, so this is just a wall. What do they call it? A wall crawl image of them together at some premiere or something, because they haven't released any actual images from the sequel yet. Right.
I think they just started filming, but they were there together, both.
Yes. And
announcing it and stuff like
we
that.
would be remiss if we didn't say Academy Award-winning actress
Right.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
And this film is
Who I
scheduled
love.
to be released in 2025.
Now, I have a prediction / wish for this film that they bring out. They have Jodie Foster come in and play great grandmother in the movie, like a cameo appearance. That would be amazing.
It would be nice for her to be in the movie, but not a great grandmother.
They'd have to
I think
make her
Jodie-
up to
I
look
think-
older. She's
I
Jamie
think
Lee Curtis.
Curtis is older than her.
But it would just be a way to have her be in the movie. They could make her up to look older. That's my wish. Anyway,
I mean, they could fit her in somewhere, but apparently
have
this
her be
film is gonna
Mrs.
be
Schmaus, the
like Lindsay
teacher.
Lohan's character has a kid now, so maybe she could be a teacher of the kid or something.
That's what
like
I was
that.
just saying. She could be Mrs.
Yeah.
Schmaus from school. Okay.
Well, Mrs.
Or
Schmaus was the
maid.
the house.
No, McGurk was the
Yeah.
Miss McGurk.
Yeah.
Okay, and now this is where I'm questioning live action.
Yeah, this is not really the live action.
I think the other actors besides Stitch are going to be live actors. Just Stitch.
Right.
Only Stitch
Right.
will be animated, but it's not live action. It's computer animation. So, whatever.
So this one, they showed a very minimal. It was like a 10-second teaser of the live-action Lilo and Stitch,
Did he burp?
which is expected to hit theaters summer 2025. But it was literally just a Stitch, the CGI Stitch coming
Yeah.
out of like the screen and just doing his
Being
little thing
a
and then leaving.
little devilish guy.
Yeah.
And he probably burped.
I don't remember.
He
but
always
you can see it online, so.
he always burps. He goes, "Ugh,"
Yeah.
and he goes, hee. And this
So they
next
talked a
one,
little bit about that.
more CGI, but most of the actors are live action. But
Yeah. So
This is
the next they showed
controversial.
a teaser trailer, which was also released online for the live-action Snow White movie that's coming to theaters March 21st, 2025. So very soon. And
Too
it was the
soon.
first look of Gal Gadot playing the evil queen. That was the first time we got a look at her in that trailer. So
the
you
only
can look at that online.
The only properly cast person in the whole film. But
Right.
anyway.
And then a couple of other things real quick. Well, this next movie is a live action movie, but so they've been making Tron Ares, which is the third film in the Tron series.
Is it live
And-
action? Because it's all in front of a green screen and it's got animation all over their bodies, and I mean, it's live action / animated. I mean, there's so much that isn't live action in it.
I mean, possibly, who knows? I mean, I've heard a little bit about the plot of this, which is like a character from the video game escapes the video game and is in the real world. So it's possible
so
that
it's
it's going to
got
be
some
more live action.
Yeah.
So the cast of the film came out, and Jared Leto is the one playing Ares, who is he's like the antagonist of this movie. And
Yeah, he would have
this-
to be. I can't see him being the protagonist of anything.
Right. And then they announced that this movie is expected to be released in 2025, and that the soundtrack is going to be provided by Nine Inch Nails, and they actually had Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross come out on stage. A lot of this whole panel, like they had people come out, all these famous people, but they didn't say anything. So it's kind of weird, Disney paid to have all
Just
these
eye
famous people
candy.
come out just to
Yeah.
stand there and wave or whatever.
Just
It's
eye
kinda weird.
candy.
Yeah. And then the last thing.
And this is 0% live action. There is nothing live action in this whatsoever.
So the presentation ended with the premiere of the official trailer, which is out online, for the film Mufasa: The Lion King, and then this is set to be released this December 20th, 2024.
Not looking forward to it, against it. if they wanted to do Mufasa the Lion King as animated and they did a full scale, full Disney production animated, I would be more open to it. Even though I don't like sequels, I would much prefer it over this. And I don't mean like a direct-to-video quality. I mean like a full Disney quality that is the same quality as the original movie. Then I would be open to it. But this is a disaster for me. And I don't care how well it does in the box office. I really don't care. I hate it. And that's all I have to say. What do you have to say, Ruthie? This is the end. This is the end of our film. So, do you have any final wrap up for it?
I mean, I'm excited for the Marvel, for the Star Wars, for some of the other stuff, some Pixar stuff. Most of this live action stuff is I'm not excited at all. So, we'll see. But they had some good announcements and some not so good announcements in this. So, yeah. But that was it. That was over 3 hours.
My final thoughts are that I am happy and, in some cases, excited for anything original, and I am opposed and upset about anything that's a sequel or is taken from some pre-existing property that already existed before Disney had anything to do with it. I really don't care. In those cases, I'm not against it. I just don't have any feeling in my heart for it at all. And the only exception to the sequels that I am pro is Incredibles 3. Otherwise, if it's a sequel, I don't want anything to do with it. I won't watch it, and I'm against it. And so I'm mostly excited, surprisingly, about the Pixar section that we did, because there's actually a couple things in there that aren't sequels. And also, I'm not opposed whatsoever to the series for Inside Out, because that is the type of thing that makes sense as a series, because it's going to be its own thing. You won't have to have even seen the movies to appreciate that on its own. And I feel that way about Incredibles too. You can just watch this and not have to have seen the original 2 movies to appreciate it, because it's that type of property and it's that type of story. So in those cases, I don't mind it. But out of everything, the thing that I am most upset about is the Snow White live action. And I will save until the movie comes out, and then we'll really go in on it. And maybe my opinion will be changed by then. But I will hold off saying anything else until the actual movie is out, and, because I could be proven wrong. And I hope that I am. So, that's what I have to say. Do you have anything to say about what I had to say? I'll let you have the final word on this.
Oh, no. I'm fine with what you said. It's
okay. Fine. So now we're going to move on to the Disney parks. And in this case, it's kind of the same. It's a mixed bag for me. There's a lot of really good things. There's a lot of things that I'm neutral on and I don't care either way. And there's a few things, and there's not that many things, but there are a few things that I'm adamantly opposed to. But I have to put an asterisk on at least one of them, because it's not the idea that I'm opposed to, it's where it's going. But we'll get into that.
Yeah.
So, when was the Disney Parks panel, Ruthie?
This was Saturday night, August 10th.
Right.
Another 3+ hour presentation.
Yeah. And this was just
like
jam-packed with musical acts.
Yes. Yeah, and I watched it a live stream, so somebody
had
their their phone up the whole time.
In fact, we were watching the same one because you told me where to go to see it.
Mm-hmm.
After you had been watching it for about 45 minutes, and I had forgotten, and I came on and you reminded me, and then I was like, oh, where do you see it? So then it was a live stream, but on YouTube you could go back and watch the beginning of it. So I was watching it at double speed until it caught up to where it was live. So I got to skip over a lot of the musical stuff.
Musical numbers.
But when I got up to the point where I was now live, I had to sit through and watch all the musical acts, and it was kind of annoying. But some people enjoyed that, but it wasn't my kind of music, so I wasn't really having fun with it.
Yeah.
I know that it opened with the Alice in Wonderland band.
Yeah, the
playing
Mad Tea Party band.
The Mad Tea Party playing a bunch of songs, and it started a little late, and I think they were given the task of stalling for time because they played a bunch of stuff that probably wasn't planned originally because they were running late starting. So then Josh D'Amaro came out and he said that this is not going to be blue sky. All of these things we're going to announce are happening and are already in production, and in some cases shovels are already in the ground. So I wanted to assure everybody that this is not going to be like last time. These are things that are actually happening.
Yeah.
But famous last words. Mary Poppins was also happening.
Right.
So
I mean, there's
see.
always going to be some stuff that they announce that doesn't end up happening.
There's a few that I hope don't happen or change by the time they do, but we'll get to that when we get to it.
Yeah. Alrighty.
So first they talked about the Walt Disney World Resort.
So this what we're going to go through the outline. It's not really in the order of the presentation.
No,
because
we're going park by
around.
park. They did bounce around a little bit.
So I just organized it by, theme park.
Right, by resort too.
Yeah.
By resort and then by individual park. Because the first park we're going to talk about at Walt Disney World is Animal Kingdom.
Yes. And so the first thing that, again, this wasn't really an original announcement because they had announced at Destination
We already knew
D23,
about this. Yeah.
Yeah. That was November of last year, that they were replacing Dinoland USA with Tropical America's Land.
Right.
But now they gave us more information. And this transformation will begin in late 2024 with the work taking place in phases. And this area will be known as Pueblo Esperanza and will feel lived in with a long, rich history. So it's going to have a similar feel to like the other lands in Animal Kingdom. And there will be a large hacienda serving as a quick service restaurant, a large fountain in the center of the land, along with the carousel made of wood-carved animals from Disney stories.
And they showed one the following day. They had a display area where it was closed off until after the park's presentation. And it was, what's her name from Up?
Kevin.
Kevin is one of they showed the carousel, the actual one that they've already finished. So that's one of the ones that'll be included. But she was designed in sort of like a South American design, which it looked cute. I think the carousel will be nice.
Yeah,
and
it'll fit in with Animal Kingdom.
Animal Kingdom doesn't have a carousel, and it's a animal park, so there should be animals on a carousel in an animal park. It only makes sense.
Yeah.
So what's next, Ruthie?
So this land is going to have 2 signature attractions. It's going to be a new Indiana Jones attraction and an Encanto attraction. So this Indiana Jones attraction, here, this is a picture. It's an all-new experience, so it's not the same one from Disneyland.
Or Tokyo, because there's one at Tokyo Disney Sea. And it's similar to this on the exterior because that one also looks like a Mayan pyramid on the outside. But only the outside is going to be similar. The new attractions will be a brand new story.
Yeah. So this is where Indy is exploring a preserved Mayan temple and encountering a mysterious mythical creature. So that's pretty much all that they have right now.
Right.
And I hope that this actually gets a better name than Indiana Jones.
No, I think that's just the working title.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll have a better title. It's years away. Did they say when this one's gonna? It's
They
gonna
didn't
open.
announce when these are opening.
Right.
Well, so the transformation is beginning at the end of this year.
Right.
And the work will take place in phases and will open in 2027.
Right, and they're not going to even start this section yet because they're
Right.
leaving it open for a while to give people who are fans of Dinosaur the chance to ride it for one last time before they begin. So this section is probably going to open and last.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then the other attraction, like we said, it's Encanto, and this is a ride-through attraction featuring the Madrigal family and the Casita, where you celebrate with them the day Antonio receives his gift of communicating with animals. So it's going to be like,
That's
you
how
kind
it
of
ties
go
into
through...
the Animal Kingdom theme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. You go through the Casita, you're going to see some stuff, but then you actually go into his room because you remember in the movie when they get a gift, their room is decorated to,
Their
I guess,
room
enhance the
transforms.
gift.
So I think what it is you're going to go into several of the rooms. Like you'll go into what's the woman's name who has the flowers all over the place. You'll go into her room. You'll go into all the different rooms, and you probably will go into the room that belongs to that person that we shall not speak of.
Right.
And then
well, they did hint that he will be in the attraction.
Well, he doesn't. He does have a room, but it's weird. It's kind of hidden behind the walls, but that's neither here nor there. And so then the grand finale will be the animal room. And the other thing I heard that's fun is the building is going to be moving. Like the shutters will be opening and closing, and the colors will be changing, and the flowers will be blooming and unblooming, and so it'll be like in the movie where the house is sort of in constant motion, and so it'll have a lot of kinetic energy to it, which is fun.
I love that.
So
I think personally, Casita is my favorite character in that movie. So because the house is a character.
Yes.
So I love it. I love that they're going to make that come to life as well.
And what's the last Animal Kingdom announcement we had? We kind of knew about this too.
I don't think this was new. They had already announced.
We kind of knew, but they confirmed it.
So they're putting a new show at the Tree of Life Theater, and it's going to be based on Zootopia. This opens winter of 2025 and will take guests through the different biomes seen in the film. So this is like a 3D film.
This picture is giving away some clues about how it's going to be, because if you look closely, all of the characters are popping out of the screen because it's 3D, except one on the side where Hopper currently exists. They have that tiger character from the movie, and so I'm guessing that's going to be an animatronic.
Probably.
So that'll be fun. He's the one that
I like the Bugs Land ride. I like the show. I really like the show, or the Bugs Life. But because it's the same one that they had in Bugs Land at DCA.
Right.
But I understand that they, Bugs Life isn't really a...
The other thing is that with film-based attractions, the revisiting of it is limited. Because I think they should update them more often. It's been there for over 20 years. It's high time they put something else in that theater. And this is an animal-based movie to tie in with the theme of animals, so this is a good thing. I don't have any issue with this. It would be nice if they could do the whole Zootopia land like they did in Shanghai, but this is better.
Well, who
than
knows?
nothing.
They might eventually do that.
So, any final thoughts about the Animal Kingdom announcements?
I think the Tropical America's Land is going to be amazing, and we're all going to have to wait till 2027 to experience it. But I'm really excited about that.
When is Zootopia?
Really fun.
It's opening next
winter 2025. It's next year
early
winter.
Next year. Yeah, so soon. Because winter is at the are you thinking winter late, like December,
yes.
or are you thinking
Well,
January?
I don't know. It could be either one now.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, it's not that difficult to put in a new movie. It doesn't take as long to do something like that, so. And A Bug's Land is already closed, isn't it? A Bug's Life is already closed, isn't it?
I think so.
So maybe they're probably already working on it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So my final thoughts about Animal Kingdom is I have no problem with any of this, and in some cases I'm happy about it. So, as far as, updates go, this was a positive situation for me. I never liked Dinosaur Land. I thought it was sort of not really up to par with Disney, and this will be a lot more detailed and a better fit for... I didn't care for it. I didn't care for this land at all, so... I'm glad they're redoing it. I'm not going to miss anything about it.
Yeah.
I know there are others who are Walt Disney World regulars who have, sort of nostalgia that don't feel the same, but I have no nostalgia for it at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, next park we're going to talk about is Epcot.
Yes.
And there were two things announced.
Yeah, two small things. Really, they just kind of really just touched on Epcot, but they are already in the works of reimagining Test Track because it's already closed, and they just give us a little bit more information about what they're doing there. So this new attraction will feature 6 exhibits in the queue celebrating vehicles, plus new show scenes that showcase technological advances, like a joyride through scenes with onboard technology and a scenic outdoor route that reminds guests of the joy of driving. And this is set to open in 2025. I don't know when specifically, but sometime next year.
And I've also heard, they didn't really mention it this time around, but when they've talked about this before, they've said they're incorporating elements of the original World of Motion attraction into this. So this I'm happy about, because this seems like they're sort of putting more Disney back into this attraction, which to me felt very cold and sterile, and just, it was fun because it's fast, but it's not so fast that I get scared. I mean, it's good fast.
And it's only like a short part of the ride anyway.
Right. I did freak out when the truck came out and looked like it was going to hit me, because I wasn't expecting that. But I'm glad they're redoing this, and this I'm positive about. I think that it's going to be a big improvement.
Yeah, I agree. So, I forgot about that World of Motion stuff, but I got to say, this image, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Magic Highway. So hopefully, I
hope they bring back the song too. That would be
that'll
nice.
be fun.
Yeah. And then there was one other little thing announced.
Yes, the final thing they announced for Epcot, which, again, I don't think this is a new announcement, but they are building a new lounge inspired by Spaceship Earth, and it will open in 2025, and this lounge will draw inspiration from the park icon itself, featuring a zen space with rich textures and warm metallic tones for elegant, mysterious intimacy. Okay. And this is the picture that they showed, and when they showed this, there was one part of the presentation where they had Darren, Chris, and Skylar, I forget his last name, two guys singing, and they were singing this fast song, and they put this picture up here, and I didn't even know what it was.
Yeah, I had to rewind because I kind of was going through it at fast speed because it was a musical number, and I was sort of skipping over those a little. So I actually had to go back and rewatch this because I didn't know what it was either. But I have a couple thoughts on this. So first of all, I have no problem with the idea, of the lounge. It's going to be in the building behind Spaceship Earth on the second floor. So nothing's going away. I think there was already something up there for the sponsors of the attraction. So they're just basically opening it up to all guests and redesigning it. I do have a problem with the only thing I have a problem with is the aesthetic of it. I think it doesn't look futuristic to me at all. If anything, it looks like the 70s to me because of the browns but I think they could do a lot better and make it look more futuristic. I think there's some clever ideas going on here, but then there's some things where it's definitely Bob Iger inspired because he wants everything to look like Starbucks or a shopping mall in Middle America. His tastes are very just boring, and that's what he
Generic.
wants. He wants everything to be that way now. He doesn't have the Disney, taste. The two things I find fun, and if they should keep whatever they do, is the pattern of the tile. Because it looks like the Spaceship Earth pattern. That's clever. And the light fixtures look like Spaceship Earth. That's fun. Those are the types of things that are details that I like. But the couches, the armchairs or whatever, the tables, the bar stools, just like I could buy those at IKEA.
Right.
Who cares?
Yep.
And I like the idea of having the lounge, and you get a great view of Innoventions. I mean, Illuminations or whatever they call it now. I hope that they pipe in the music for it when it's happening, and they'll probably have like a special ticket you have to have to see it. Part of Genie Plus. Yeah.
Like a special dinner package or something.
Yeah, something. Or after dinner package or whatever. But anyway, it's not that I don't like the idea of it or having it, or it's just I feel like this is not what it should look like. Yeah. As far as the test track, I'm 100% behind that change.
Yeah.
And do you have any Epcot thoughts?
I agree with you. Brown is not a color that you associate with Spaceship Earth. So
or the
I'm
future.
Really
I associate it with the 70s, if anything.
Before this park was open?
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, yeah.
It looks like a Bob's Big Boy from my childhood.
Right. I think when you think of Spaceship Earth, you think of silver and maybe blue.
Right.
So they could use that.
Right.
But they're not. So
the thing I hate the most is those bar stools. They're gross. They're probably like that fake vinyl.
Oh yeah.
Ugh. We had those chairs when I was 3. I mean, they existed when I was 3. I mean, that's nothing futuristic. Okay, anyway. Moving on from Epcot to Hollywood Studios. Yeah. And there's a couple fun things announced for this. Both of which I am in support of, just to say in advance. One of which it's sort of up in the air where it's going to go. And depending on where it goes, I'll be more happy if they choose one over the other. So what was the first thing? And this is one of the biggest surprise things.
It
the
is.
Whole thing.
Yes. This has not been announced before.
Right.
And so they announced that a new land is coming to Hollywood Studios.
This was totally out of the blue.
Monstropolis.
Yes.
Inspired by Pixar's Monsters, Inc. Actually, they have more of the city in the film, but if you go watch the film, if you really want to know what the city looks like, because they're not just going to do just the factory.
That's where the main attraction we'll get to in a second is probably going to go inside.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're adding this to the park. They did not say where. And the main attraction will be what everybody has speculated for years about, which is a hanging door roller coaster.
Before we move on to that, I want to just mention something a couple things I noticed about this image. The first thing is behind that eyeball, there's a slide that looks like the skin of Sully. So I'm guessing there's going to be some sort of a park, because there's there's a curly slide there. And the other thing I noticed is that they have a fountain in the front that looks like Mike's eyeball, which I think is cute. And I'm wondering if you'll be able to drive around in these cars, or if they're just parked for... But otherwise, let's move on to the attraction, which will probably be inside that big building, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think he did say that it was going to be in there. So this hanging door roller coaster is going to be the first ever suspended coaster in Disney theme park, in any Disney theme park. So yes, you've seen this type of roller coaster in other places, but not at Disney until now. And the only thing that they said was construction will begin in 2025. So that's all we know. We have no idea when this is going to open. And as of now, I mean, there's speculation, which Chris will talk about in a minute, but we don't know where this is going in Hollywood
Studios. I have
Studios.
one other thing, and nobody else has mentioned this, but this is the first thing I thought of. They can do a much better job theming the ride vehicle. It just looks like something you'd see in Six Flags. There's no theming going on whatsoever. Disney has the most creative people in the world. They could do something more creative with the vehicles, so they don't just look like a roller coaster, and they look like part of the hanging door factory more. That kind of... I won't be happy about this until they change those ride vehicles. That really bothers me. That's just like going the cheapest route they could possibly go, and there's nothing special about it. So I hope they do update that. That's my hope for that. But I'll talk about the other thing next. But we have one other announcement about Hollywood Studios.
So during the Star Wars section of... Was it the movies?
No, they announced this at the... I remember them saying this at the event, at the Parks event.
It was a different section, though, because
it was out of order. This wasn't part of this section. Yeah. Right.
Because they were having a section about, like, Fortnite, which we're not talking about because we don't care.
Who cares?
But during that Fortnite section, Dave Filoni was on stage, and that's when he announced that they are going to make a new story for Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run that's going to be inspired by The Mandalorian and Grogu, the movie, which is coming to theaters in 2026. So then they will reskin this attraction after the movie's been released in 2026.
Right. And I don't know if they're reskinning it. I think they're just changing the film that you see.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Not the actual ride vehicle, but the adventure that you go on.
So this is something I support. I think it's good. But what I really would wish they would do is have a rotation of 12 different scenarios, so that every time you go on it, you get a different adventure. I think it would work even more effectively on this than it does how they're doing Star Tours now, with a different adventure each time. I think because of the nature of this attraction, and because also you're the person navigating it, it would make it more difficult if you don't know the movie by heart, because you don't always get the same movie every time you ride it. So I wish they would keep the original and just add this, and you don't know which one you're going to get, plus add a bunch more. So not only am I in support of this, I wish they would take it even further, but maybe in the future they will, or maybe they're planning on doing that, and this is just, they're not letting the entire thing out of the bag yet. Who knows? But the last thing I want to mention about Hollywood Studios is, where are they going to place Monstropolis? It's become a little bit of a controversy online. We have no idea. And anybody who says that they do know is not being, they're being disingenuous with you. Nobody knows outside of Disney where they're going to build it. So there's two places it could go, and the one that everybody wants it to go, outside of Disney, for the most part, is the animation courtyard, which has become sort of a dead area in recent years because there's nothing really exciting happening back in that whole area, and there's plenty of space back there to fit this whole area, and then some. There's plenty of room. There's more than enough room. And they're not restricted by a berm at this park. They can go out as far as they want. There's no berm in this park. So the other area that they're talking about is a possibility, is replacing the Muppets area and possibly even Star Tours. That whole area back there is also sort of being speculated. And in that case, there's a lot of people annoyed by it. People don't really care about Star Tours going away because it's become sort of outdated and irrelevant because of Galaxy's Edge. But the one thing they're really vocal about and opposed to is the removal of Muppet Vision 3D, because it was Jim Henson's final thing that he produced. It's the last time he did Kermit's voice, and also it's one of the very first things that involved computer animation. There's a lot of firsts, a lot of breakthroughs. It's sort of a historical type thing, and people are upset to think that it would be removed. There's no reason to think that it would be removed. It is a possibility, but Disney has not said one way or another. I'm thinking another area that is up for grabs is the Echo Lake area and the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular. Nobody's talking about that. But when they build the Indiana Jones area in Animal Kingdom, that area is just going to be completely irrelevant. And they've been doing the same exact show since 1989. They haven't changed anything. And I know because I worked on that show. And I saw it like 5 times a day. And every time it was the exact... There was no variation. The people they invited from the audience were not real audience members. They were people that were, actually cast members posing as audience members. They had the same jokes. Nothing ever changed. Nothing. And they're still doing it. I worked there back in the 90s, and they still haven't changed it. So that show has overstayed its welcome, especially with Indiana Jones opening in Animal Kingdom. They have a whole area for that over there. This will be redundant. So I think that would be a good place to put it. And I'm actually okay with them taking out Star Tours because it's next to Star Tours, and that outdoor eating place, whatever it's called, which is between the two. So I would be okay with them putting it there, and I think they have plenty of room for it there, and there's room behind those things too. So the only thing I would have a problem with, because I do agree, for a lot of people love it, there's nothing wrong with it, it's still enjoyable. Leave Muppet Vision alone. There's no reason to take that out. But really the very best place would be Animation Courtyard, because there's nothing there. It really needs... that area needs help. So that's my thoughts. And what are your thoughts about Hollywood Studios, Ruthie?
I like these announcements. I love the Monstropolis idea. I think I actually armchair imagineered something similar to this at one point on a podcast we talked about. So that's one thing. Like that movie, it's been out since 2000, and I always loved the whole city that they lived in. I loved it. So I'm glad that they're putting that somewhere. I don't think they need to get rid of Muppets
No.
3D. There's really no reason to do that.
There's plenty of room.
The other
other
thing
places.
is, this is going to be a running theme for me on another announcement.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you have to take something away? You have plenty of land.
Yeah, exactly.
So
they don't
just
have
keep
to
the stuff that's
yeah,
good, that
add
you like.
to it. Add,
Yes, add.
enhance what you've already got, especially in this park because there's so little to do. They need more.
Yes, you need to expand it out more.
Right.
So, yes. So that's my thoughts.
Yes. Okay. So now we're moving on to the biggie, Magic Kingdom. You like my graphic for Magic Kingdom? I love the Shutterstock thing on the back. You see, I didn't notice that till just now, so I apologize for that. I'm not going to pay Shutterstock for this image.
Yeah, it's fine. You acknowledged where you got it, so.
Right. Okay. If you want to pay $25 for this image, feel free. So there's a lot happening for Matt. In fact, I think out of every park, this is the one that had the most announcements. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the first one is what, Ruthie?
So the first announcement is that there is finally going to be an all-new nighttime parade for Magic Kingdom. Mm-hmm. And it's coming summer of 2025. And it's called Disney Starlight. Mm-hmm. And this will continue the legacy started by the Main Street Electrical Parade and feature characters and stories from Peter Pan, Encanto, Frozen, and more. The parade's magic will all be brought to life by the Blue Fairy from Pinocchio.
I hope they have more than just 2 legacy IPs and that everything else is from the past 25 years. That annoys me. I wish they would have a more of a blending. They very well could, but from this description, it sounds like they're throwing in the Blue Fairy and Peter Pan, and then everything else is for the millennials and the Gen Zers. Nothing is for Ruthie and me. So that's kind of annoying.
Yeah. If this was for Disneyland, I would say that they probably will be balanced because that's usually the way Disneyland does stuff. But for Walt Disney World, I can't say.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the fireworks show that they do, which I did see. And there's like one legacy IP in the entire thing. And I felt nothing. No emotional attachment to it whatsoever. They threw in the Jungle Book, for 5 seconds. But anyway, that being said, I'm glad they're doing this. I hope they bring back something to Disneyland. The nighttime parade that they did for the 60th anniversary, I hope they bring that back at some point. There's no reason not to. Maybe for the 70th they will. They said very little about plans for the 70th, but we'll get to that in a minute. That's a different park. But I have no opposition to this. I just hope that they have more than just, sort of a, oops, I hit my mic. With more than just, let's put this in so that the Gen Xers will shut the hell up, Anyway, we're a minority group, but we're a vocal minority. Anyway, what else did they announce, Ruthie? This we already knew about too.
This isn't a new announcement, but so they announced this again at Destination D23 last year, November 2023, that they're making a Pirates of the Caribbean themed lounge. Yeah. And apparently it's currently in progress, and it will open in 2025 sometime. Right. So, and I believe that this was just going around somewhere around the attraction. Were they taking a restaurant away, or?
Yes, the Tortuga Tavern.
Oh, yes.
Which is next door to the Pecos Bill Cafe. It's like on the Adventureland side of the Pecos Bill. I believe that's where this is going. Okay. Which is fine because there's enough fast food in that area. It's too much. Like that Pecos Bill is enough for like 5 parks. It's huge. So this is fine. I'm not happy about the alcohol in Disney theme parks, especially Magic Kingdom parks, but as it goes, this is thematically okay.
Right.
And I do see a little boy sitting there. So I don't know what that's about. If this is where they're serving alcohol, I don't think children should be in there, but whatever. I guess legally you can have children in a bar if they're not at the bar itself,
yeah.
but I still don't like it. But, you know, I'm old. So what else was announced, Ruthie? And this is controversial, but not for... It wasn't controversial. It was and it wasn't when they first announced it.
So this is actually a pretty big announcement, and it's not even the biggest. But so they are going to be expanding Frontierland with the addition of 2 attractions inspired by Pixar's Cars. The first attraction will feature a thrilling rally race through the mountains, covering wild terrain, climbing mountain trails, and splashing through mud holes. And the second attraction will be tailored to smaller guests, offering fun for the whole family. More details still to come.
It's probably going to be like a Mater ride or something, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
But this is going to be probably similar to the Radiator Spring Racers, but a different, you know, scenery.
Yes.
Different.
Yes, it's not a retelling of the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem with this, but the problem is not what it is, but where it's going. And that
a few days after the expo,
fact,
Disney announced that they are removing the Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer Island to put these 2 attractions in there.
Right.
So I think that is so shady, first of all, to announce it a few days after the expo, because you know they weren't going to say this in the expo because people would boo.
Right.
So that's shady to just throw it on the internet a few days later.
Yeah.
But go ahead and talk about this, Chris.
So I have 2 problems with this. First of all, Frontierland, which is not going away, just the Rivers of America, and they're not redoing the land as a whole. You can see where Tiana's is in the back. You can see where Thunder Mountain is. You can see the row of buildings that are part of the current Frontierland that are currently along where the river is. That's all still there. But this area is set in the 1880s in the Old West. The cowboys, you know, outlaws and Native American era, you know. So now they're putting in some contemporary thing that doesn't fit the theme of the Old West, and it's set in the western United States, but it's not the Old West. And so this land is no longer going to be a celebration of America's legacy and past. It's just a random thing set in like the forests of the West, the western United States, and has nothing to do with American history whatsoever. So that upsets me that they're taking away references to America's past and American history, and you know, they're trying to move away from Mark Twain and Tom Sawyer because he wrote a book with the N-word in it. Because when he wrote it, it was, you know, just after the Civil War, and, you know, that's the way people talked back then. I mean, I read that book in high school, and we were told that it's a bad word, but we weren't, like, forbidden from knowing about it or reading it. And I'm talking about Huckleberry Finn. That word has the N-word in it about 300 times, but anyway, which is admittedly not good, but this is it was the Tom Sawyer's Island. Tom Sawyer doesn't have the N-word in it, and it wasn't based on Huckleberry Finn. It was based on Tom Sawyer, which has nothing really all that problematic about the story. If you really want to dig, you could find something, but this is a book from 150 years ago. Give me a break. Anyway, Also getting rid of the Rivers of America and the steamboat, which was a Walt Disney thing that he specifically wanted in his park. He, in fact, cashed in his personal life insurance policy in order to pay for the Mark Twain. It was that important to him. And I know this isn't Disneyland, it's Disney World, but this park was built as a improved, better version of Disneyland, and Walt was involved in the early planning of this park. And he was the one who was part of the idea of putting the Rivers of America in this park. So this is going against what if anything is going against what Walt Disney wanted, it's this. It's also a dumbing down of the parks, because it's taking something out that made the Magic Kingdom special and unique to Six Flags or Cedar Fair or whatever, because this was the only park that really had something like this. And they're just, because it doesn't have, the same foot traffic as, Tron Light Cycle, they're taking it out. But it's not all about, some things are there to provide ambiance and to give an overall feeling. And it doesn't have to be, the fastest, the newest, the greatest, having that there makes the things around it more special. Like when you're riding the Big Thunder, it's exciting to see the Liberty Bell floating by as you're riding Big Thunder. And even though you're not planning on riding the Liberty Bell, it adds to Big Thunder Mountain to have it there. And that's just one of the many examples. It's not just about capacity and having the latest and flashiest thing. And also, this is going against celebrating American history, which was very important to Walt Disney. It's just disregarding so many important things that were important to Walt. And then, so that's my first issue. My second issue is there's absolutely no reason for this to go there, because they have plenty of room to put it somewhere else. There's plenty of room behind, as they were calling it, Beyond Big Thunder. They have more space back there than they could possibly know what to do with, because they can go on the other side of the railroad. They can extend the railroad, because there is so much land behind there that is not being used for anything. And there's absolutely no reason why they can't put it back there. I would still not be thrilled about the idea of having something that takes place in contemporary times in Frontierland, but at least it would have some sort of a separation where you'd have to go back there to see it, and it wouldn't interrupt the majority of Frontierland. It's just completely stupid. And also, it probably it's going to cost them a lot more money to put it here, because they have to go through the whole expense of filling in the river, and because this is an area with a lot of the soil and stuff in this part of Florida, it's basically a swamp land. It's going to be a real effort to fill in that lake and have it be safe for people to build things on top of. It's going to be a huge expense. We're talking millions of dollars are going to have to go in, if not hundreds of millions, to fill in that river. And it's just a waste of money and not necessary. And nobody wants it. And it just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. It just seems like the stupidest thing they could ever do. And what do you have to say? That's what I have to say.
I agree with what you're saying. Like I said before, like they knew people were not gonna like this announcement, which is why they didn't make it in public.
Right.
And so, you know, I don't have as strong feelings about Walt Disney World as I do about Disneyland. And let me tell you, if they ever said anything about Disneyland, everybody would be up in arms. This would not happen.
People would boycott.
So,
people would literally boycott Disneyland if they did
People
that.
would be out there picketing.
Yes.
So because that's a different park, and also, I mean, we have way more history with Walt in the Rivers of America at Disneyland.
I highly doubt they would ever even
I don't think they
think
would.
about doing that. I mean, when they built Star Wars, they specifically redesigned it so they wouldn't have to take it out.
So they shortened it, but they didn't remove it.
Right.
So yes. So I don't think they should take this out either. I think the Rivers of America is it's something that you need to have in Magic Kingdom Park. And the other thing is like it helps you to feel like relaxed in the area, having like a slow traveling ship in front of you.
Not everything
and things like
has
that.
to be the biggest, the brightest, the newest,
and fast moving. Yeah. So I just like I said about the Hollywood Studios and Monstropolis, and you said this already. You have plenty of space. Why are you taking something away?
Right.
It just does not make sense to me. I will never understand that.
I hope they wake up and, you know, at the last minute somebody throws in a Hail Mary and they change their mind. I hope this is official by Disney. This is not rumor. They put this out as an official announcement, and I hope and pray that they wake up from their delusion and rethink this, because this is the stupidest idea I have ever heard of. Not only on a level of, I feel like it's a personal attack on what I know and love, but financially it's stupid. And then the other thing is, how are they going to run this Cars ride in Florida? It rains every day. Like, how are they going to have this ride when it's pouring rain? Because not only does it rain, it doesn't drizzle. It's like torrential tropical storms. We're talking every day for like a half hour. They're going to have to shut this ride down, and who knows, they might have to wait for it to dry, and they'll probably have to dry off, hand dry every vehicle so people don't get wet. It seems weird that they would choose this. And you know how they have the picture where there's dust? Let me go back to it.
Yeah.
There's no way they could have that happen in real life, because it would turn to mud. It would always be like mud. There'd be no dust happening in this attraction.
Yeah.
So it just...
And I will say, Radiator Springs Racers at DCA goes down a lot. So you think it's... And they don't even have like the weather stuff that in California like they do in Florida.
And this needs to be a high-capacity e-ticket. I mean, this is going to be a high-capacity e-ticket. And to have it shut down for several hours each day is not a good thing.
Yeah.
It's not a good thing.
It's not.
So, let's move on.
All right, the last thing that they announced for the Magic Kingdom is officially they announced a Villains Land, which is another new land that was announced, and it's going to feature 2 major attractions plus dining and shopping, which they didn't give us any more detail than that. But this is what's going beyond Thunder Mountain, and then no date for any of this.
And they have room for both back there.
Yes.
So there's no reason they can't build both beyond Thunder Mountain. There's more than enough room for both. And it would make the park huge, and they need that. The Magic Kingdom is the busiest, most visited theme park in the world. And if they built both things back there, it would make so much more space in this park. It would be a wonderful thing to have all that extra space. But anyway, what people have been analyzing this picture online, and I've watched, and you can kind of guess a couple things, but this is all early and it could change, of course. But if you look off to the side on the left, you see sort of, it looks like the thorns, and it sort of looks like it could be some sort of a roller coaster back there. And then if you look in the water, it looks like it might go, there's a underwater through these waterfalls also. So that may be some sort of a Maleficent themed roller coaster that they're planning. And also it looks like the main, you know, icon of the area, sort of the weenie, as they say, is Maleficent's castle. So I was thinking they might do Chernabog. Maybe they'll do both. But I don't see him anywhere in this picture, but they could probably do both. And then I see Maleficent's dragon. So they might, you know, between the castle and where the roller coaster is. So they might have a dragon like they have at Harry Potter that breathes fire every so often. But I have no clue what they would do for the second attraction. I mean, I have ideas anybody could think of, but to limit it down to just what would be the one thing. So if this is in fact a roller coaster, I would think that the other thing would be more of a family-friendly type attraction. Maybe some sort of a dark ride would probably be the other thing. It could be a dark ride based on one specific film, or it could be a dark ride that's just sort of a overview of all the villains. You know, just go through see all the villains throughout the ride, like they're having a celebration or something, a devilish celebration. So you could see Madman and Mim, the Queen, you know, all the bad guys. So everyone, when they announced this, stood up and cheered for like 12 minutes. I'm exaggerating, but everyone was thrilled to hear this. I've been hoping they would do something like this for years. I'm glad they finally made it official, but I still am I have some trepidation when it comes to Disney making announcements like this. Even though they say shovels are in the ground, I'm a little, still a little pessimistic, because I have been let down in the past, big time. So I'm not building myself up to be disappointed, because I've learned not to do that from the way Disney acts in the past. So, how do you feel?
I like this idea. Now, to be honest, when Josh was making this announcement, he threw up this picture, and I actually thought he was going to announce a new park, and I wish he did.
that has been the other sort of thought and hope for this for quite some time. Yes.
Right. So, like we said before, they have plenty of land. They can make a whole new park. And there's this whole thing that's been going around ever since Universal announced, the Epic Universe,
I was just
their
gonna
new park.
say that. Yeah.
You know, it's what is Disney gonna do to counteract that? Well, a Villains Land park would be the perfect counteraction.
Well,
but
what I want to say about that is this does seem like they're trying to copy what Universal is doing, because Universal has a lot of stuff like this going into the Epic Universe. They even have a land based on the classic Universal horror movies.
Yeah, the monsters.
So this really seems like Disney trying to, you know, oh wait, but we have this. It's not like, I wish they would have done this before. It seems like this is a response and not like an original thought, which is sort of troubling to me. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, technically, they did. Now, it was a Blue Sky announcement, but they did
Right.
a Blue Sky announce this in 2022.
But they were already letting out the ideas for
Right.
Epic Universe back then. I mean, we already knew all this back then, even so.
Yeah. So that would be my best place for this, is to have a separate land, move the Cars stuff where they're planning on putting this, and there you go. Bob's your uncle.
I think the plan, and you can sort of see it in the picture of the overview that I just showed, but it's not terribly clear. The land will be accessed from behind the Haunted Mansion, which is a good place, very, very smart place to put the land. And then it'll go all the way around, and then the other entrance will be just behind Big Thunder Mountain. But they could have it be entered from behind the Haunted Mansion, and then have it end, and then have the Cars area back there, and then have that be let out to where Big Thunder is. So they meet each other in the middle. There wouldn't be a problem with that either. Right. And also, I feel like you could also have this be accessed from Fantasyland, from behind the Rapunzel bathroom area, because that it does tie into Fantasyland, so it would be good to have it connected somehow to Fantasyland. I don't have a problem with this being a new land in the Magic Kingdom. I would prefer it to be its own park, and I would prefer to have a land for once have more than 2 attractions.
Right.
Because Fantasyland, has like 10 attractions? They should have... There's so many things they could have, and not everything has to be an e-ticket.
Right.
They should have some smaller attractions that add kinetic energy, things that move you around. Maybe have have some sort of a stagecoach that looks like a hearse drive you around. I mean, there's so many conveyances they could put to just bring you around the area, because that adds kinetic energy. And have some sort of a spinner attraction with dragons or something. I don't know. There's so much they could do to add to the land. They don't have to only focus on e-tickets all the time.
Right.
So that's my thoughts.
Yeah.
And I could think of at least 5 dark rides, like little Fantasyland style dark rides that would work perfectly. They don't have to build a big, huge, It's a Small World scale, Pirates scale dark ride. They could have little intimate dark rides based on different villains. Like they could have the one they've always talked about, the Sleepy Hollow dark ride.
Oh, yeah.
And then they could have they don't have an Alice in Wonderland ride in Disney World, so they could do a Queen of Hearts dark ride, or there's so many things they could do. So
the other thing they could do, and they put this in DCA for Halloween, but they call it Villains Grove, where you're just walking through the woods and you get different images that are representing different villains. They could put something like that in there.
Another thing that would be fun if they included would be Captain Hook's pirate ship.
Yep.
Because they have that. They used to have that in Disneyland, and they have that in Euro Disney, and they could put that in. They could, and then they could have a little lake area, and then you just go onto the boat and tour the boat. It doesn't have to be an attraction. Not everything has to be an attraction either. You can have things that are there just to explore and tour. So, and if they are going to get rid of Tom Sawyer's Island, which I hope and pray they won't, they could have a pirate exploring area like they have at Disneyland, connected to the pirate ship, and have it themed to Peter Pan, the Lost Boys type situation, and have that be part of it, so you don't lose that place where kids can run around and everything. And they have sort of that thing happening in they call it Adventure Isle in in Disneyland Paris. So, I mean, there's so much they could do to add to this. And maybe they have plans for a phase 2. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But to limit it to 2 attractions seems kind of stupid.
Mm-hmm.
You have this big open space. That's what they did with Galaxy's Edge, and that's why it isn't as popular as they wanted it to be. Because there's not much to do back there. It's like a glorified shopping center.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with 2 rides that you have to wait forever to get on. There's even shops that you have to wait in line to go into the shops.
Mm-hmm.
Or the bar or whatever. Anyway.
Yeah.
So let's move on to another resort. And that would be Disneyland, the original. And not as much was announced, but some big things were announced, and some surprising things, and things we knew about but we didn't know for sure. Mm-hmm. And first we're going to talk about California Adventure. And the first thing did not come as a surprise, but they made it official, thank God. They're not putting it in Disneyland Park, because that really worried me. And what was that?
So they announced the Avatar Land officially. So Bob Iger had released images back in 2023 of this really just close up of that kind of like the boat and the swirling rocks there.
Yes.
And so now obviously this idea has been more, conceptualized here. And this is going to be in DCA, but they, again, did not say where.
Right. I have my suspicions. I'll tell you why in a second.
But this attraction is going to be, it's not going to be like Pandora in Animal Kingdom, because this is going to be based off of Avatar 1 and 2, or 2 and 3, I'm sorry. So Way of Water and then the Fire and Ash. So it's not going to be so much the way that Pandora looks in Animal Kingdom. That's why you see a lot of water in this picture. So,
and I think this is highly exaggerated as far as the water. It's more of a fantasy version. I think the water in the front where the waterfalls are is probably true, but all that water in the back, that's not real.
Yeah,
they're not putting just empty water all around it like that. Yeah. So my thinking is, and this is based on this concept art, people are trying to guess where is this going to go. And a lot of people are thinking it's going to go either where the next door to the Little Mermaid, where the Mexican area is, where they have like a eatery and character area, that it might go back there. Some people are thinking it's going to go where the Grizzly River Run is, in that Grizzly Trail. They're going to take that out and put this instead. And then some people are thinking it's going to go where Hollywood Land is located, like where Muppet Vision is and the Monsters Inc. ride. And that's where I'm thinking, because they've been talking about building out into the bus load and unload area and having that become part of DCA and moving that somewhere else. If you look in the bottom right, you see 3 little warehouses, and they look an awful lot like the buildings that are currently in that area. So that's why I think they're going to repurpose these buildings and redesign them to look old and they're weather damaged. And that's why I think they're going to put it back in that area on the northern side of where Hollywood Land currently is. And I think that the border of it is not going that far back. The border of it is basically going to be around where that ribcage shaped mountain range is. It's not going to be as big as this picture. It's just going to be the areas where people can walk, and back in that ribcage mountain area. And they said it's only going to have the one attraction. And I think that the show building is going to be on the right, but underneath all those mountains with the greenery on top of it will be the actual show building. And then a part of the ride will be outside because that's been shown in the concept art. And it'll go around this little lake in front of the rib cage. And then it'll go inside this mountainy area, and the attraction will be part in there. It looks like they have some sort of a theater happening too, like live outdoor thing off to the left. And so I think there's space there because they're trying to make it look bigger than it's actually going to be. And these buildings look like the warehouse style studio type buildings that are currently already there. The one question I have though is what are they doing with the monorail? Because the monorail goes through here. Is the monorail going to be hidden underneath, like go through a tunnel or something? Are they going to relocate the monorail so that it goes further back, or it goes behind this and not in front of it? So there's lots of questions about the monorail. Or then again, they might not even be planning on building it there. And then again, what it might be is part of Disneyland Forward. It could be in the areas they're going to expand, and it's connected to DCA, but it's not even part of what's already there. It's an all-new thing that doesn't affect anything. So that's the big question about it, is where. And my big question is why. Because I really don't think Avatar is appropriate for Disney. It has nothing to do with Disney. I don't think of Disney. Why are you putting this everywhere in your parks? The movies were, the first movie was popular and everyone forgot about it. So when they opened the first one in Florida, it was like a big why. The second one did pretty good. But
it did really good.
It's not like this is the biggest thing. It's not like a Harry Potter thing. It's not like a culturally huge thing like Star Wars or Harry Potter, where it's like changed culture. It's just a movie, and why are they putting so many eggs in this Avatar basket? I just don't get it. And I have no emotional connection, and I could care less about Avatar. And there's so many other things they could do that would be more popular even than Avatar. So I don't understand it. But whatever, I'm not against it. I just think that it's a waste of money, and you think that Avatar is going to be popular in 20 years like Star Wars has remained popular for 50 years? I don't think so. And I think Harry Potter will remain popular for 50 years because it has that sort of cultural significance. I don't see that in Avatar. And what'll happen is 30 years will go by and it'll be here and nobody will get it. Like, why is this random movie in this park that nobody cares about anymore? It's just stupid. It doesn't have the longevity, and they're really... a theme park is not like a movie. It has to have staying power. So, anyway. Next. What are your thoughts?
I think this is going in Disney Forward. And so it's not even really going to be part of the original DCA park. Mm-hmm. So they're going to have some sort of a tunnel or something like that leads you from the main park to this
a bridge.
So it's going to feel more separated,
right.
And I think that's going to help to make it feel a little bit more not as much as the main park, right. A secondary kind of a section. Mm-hmm. So that's what I think. I think this water attraction looks very similar to the submarines. So mm-hmm. Not to say that it's going to be that, but something similar where you do ride out into the water, but then the majority of the attraction is indoors. And I think if they do something like that, I think that it's going to be very popular. regardless of whether Avatar is popular or not. If
I think it'll be popular for 20 years, and then they'll have this big thing here that nobody cares about. It doesn't have the staying power. They're going to spend, over $1 billion on this. You should put something that will last 50 years, not 20 years. That's just my thinking. I don't doubt that it'll be popular, but it won't be popular for that long. It'll really overstay its welcome after a while. I just don't see that Avatar is like Indiana Jones or Star Wars or Harry Potter, or think of a Disney one. The villains. It's just not something that has staying power. It just doesn't. Sorry.
All right. Well, let's move on to the other announcements that they made for DCA.
Okay.
They announced a new boat ride attraction that's going to be based on Pixar's Coco, and this is coming to DCA as well. And they will be breaking ground on this in 2026.
All right.
And I love this idea. I think this is fun. It's also, DCA is a perfect place for this attraction. So I am totally for this, and I can't wait to ride it.
They basically already have a Coco area because they're
they do.
So I really feel like it goes there where they.
It does, yeah. I feel like
that's
too.
where it should go. They should build up that area again. This is the area next to the Little Mermaid, between where that area is and where the Pixar Pier is. There's a big restaurant area, sort of set to the back, and it could go back there.
Yep.
And it would fit perfectly. My thinking on this is, and I heard somebody say this and I sort of agree, this is old concept art. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with showing this, but I feel like this is artwork from when they were planning on placing this in Epcot, replacing the El Rio del Tiempo Grand Fiesta Tour with this. I think this is sort of a concept for that, because they were really seriously talking about doing that at one point, but they decided not to. So I think they're recycling their ideas, and there's no problem with that. I'm just thinking that they're doing that, but that's okay. And the boats look an awful lot like the size of the boats from the Grand Fiesta Tour. Even though, interestingly, if you look at the chairs, they look like different regular wooden chairs inside the boat. Like there's a green one and there's a purple one. And then they have the skeleton head painted. So I love the theming of the boat. I hope they do that. Another thing, I hope we don't see screens. I hope it's a lot of physical animatronics and physical sets. It's okay to have screen enhancements, like the fireworks can be screens up in the sky. That's okay. But I just hope and pray it's not going to be like a series of screens that you go by, because who really cares about that? So we'll wait and see. And I hope they have a lot of animatronics. But as far as the idea of having this, the theme of this, it's perfect for DCA, and it feels like it should be there, and it's like, why isn't this there? So this is an idea I'm totally fully behind, and I'm glad they're doing it. So
yeah. So stay tuned for where it actually is going to go, because we'll find out sooner or later.
Right. And then we have
the last thing,
two things from Adventures Campus.
Two things for Adventures Campus. They announced, well, really, one of them is not new.
Right.
They've been, toying around with this e-ticket attraction for Avengers Campus for the whole time, ever since that was an idea to even build, before it was actually built. And they just couldn't settle on what exactly the attraction was going to be, all of that. So I think they finally settled, and it's going to be called Avengers Infinity Defense. And it's going to be, it will take recruits to iconic locations like Asgard, Wakanda, and New York City as King Thanos wreaks havoc across worlds. and construction on this begins.
So this is
in
going to be a
2025.
multiverse attraction. And if you
Mhm.
look closely at the picture, it sort of gives away because of the characters that are appearing together. It would have to be multiverse for that to be possible.
Hmm. And they actually had a model of the ride vehicle for this attraction in like the Imagineering Pavilion there at the D23. And people were saying that the vehicle looks very similar to the one that you get in at the new Peter Pan ride at Tokyo.
Right.
So
Which
it's
is
probably going to be a similar ride.
heavily screen-based. It does have three-dimensional things, but the majority is a screen-based attraction, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
I don't really care that much because I don't really have any... I don't really care about Marvel, so I really don't care what they do.
Yeah. Well, I'm just glad they're finally, they're settled on an idea and they can get started, because the building for this has been there since they built
empty
the land.
building for it.
Yeah.
So one thing I find confusing about this picture, tell me what you think. If you look on the right, you see Spider-Man, and then right behind him, and he's sort of a 3D rendering of Spider-Man, and right behind him is like a 2D animated Spider-Man behind him, and it's the only 2D animated thing in the entire picture. I'm wondering if that's giving us a clue about something, what that's all about. That seems bizarre to me.
Yeah, it is kind of weird. I never really noticed that. But,
yeah.
I mean, the Spider-Verse movies, which are not Disney, they're Sony,
Right.
but that has a lot of different Spider-Man people from different,
So maybe they made
lands
a
or
deal with Sony
universes.
to incorporate that into the... Another thing I noticed is they have She-Hulk and
She-Hulk,
the original Hulk, and they also have Captain America as a man and Captain... Is she Captain America?
Britain. She's Captain Britain.
Oh, that's... I didn't even know there was a Captain Britain. Okay.
Yeah.
Just observations. I mean, just find it interesting. So what was the other thing they talked about for...
this is a new announcement as well. They announced another ride, which nobody was expecting.
Right.
And this is going to be called Stark Flight Lab.
Right.
And it's a completely new ride system for Disney Park, which they've already built, because they showed, well, there was a picture online of Bob
They already
Iger
built, like, the vehicle and
Yeah.
tested it, yeah.
And so Bob Iger and Robert Downey Jr. actually took a little bit of a test ride on the vehicle. And this is going to be where you'll enter Tony Stark's own lab in two-person pods, deploying to a test station.
Right.
While there, a robot arm grabs your pod and takes you into a simulated flight. And they announced that Robert Downey Jr. will reprise his role as Tony Stark just for this attraction.
Right. So, looking at this picture, it looks like they have 4 arms. So while people are riding it, the people waiting get into their vehicles, and then the arms, see there's a space between each vehicle. The arms will, at the end, put the people down between the people waiting, and then grab the people waiting, and it'll be their turn, and then while they're riding, those will be empty, and then so it'll be a constant loading and unloading. You won't have to wait as long, because they'll be able to load and unload during the attraction. So I hope they have more than 4 arms, and we're only seeing 4. Because only 2 people per vehicle, only 8 people at a time. That seems like it's going to be a disaster for waiting. But this is cute. I mean, this is okay, because even though it looks sort of like a more amusement park, and when I say amusement park, I seriously, I'm saying that instead of theme park, because this looks more like a Magic Mountain type thing, but because they're making it look like it's a lab and it's technical and it's a testing area, it fits the theme. It seems like this is legitimate what it would look like in the story, and it doesn't look like they're just sticking a roller coaster experience. But the other thing is, I will never ever ride this, ever. You couldn't pay me to get on something like this. It looks terrifying. It has nothing to do with the ride. It has to do with it has everything to do with the ride, but not because I'm against the ride or anything. It's because I don't do rides like this. I just don't. And I know what do you have to say about that? Because I know you and I feel the same way about things like that.
Unfortunately, I will not be riding this either.
Yeah, I
don't want to be like flung around.
No,
I don't
with my
know
feet
what
dangling.
direction I'm going. Yeah,
Right.
I don't like that.
And it looks like they decide where you go. You don't control it yourself.
Right.
Or maybe you do, but it doesn't. It looks like the guy in the front does have his hand on.
I think that's just a handle.
Yeah, it does. It could be a joystick, but I don't know. I don't think it is.
Yeah, I don't think you're controlling. I think it controls you, which is, I don't like that.
And I wish this could be. It can't be because the weather conditions, but this would be a good thing to have as an outdoor attraction, just because it would add so much movement.
Yeah.
But I don't think feasibly it could be, so.
Right. Yeah. But I do agree with you. I think that would be really fun to have outdoors, because they don't really have a lot of stuff outdoors.
Disney
indoor.
needs to return to having more kinetic energy in its new lands. There's just such a lack of movement. Like, it feels sterile and just doesn't fit in with the rest of the park, these new areas. And this is one of the worst offenders, this Avengers Campus.
Avengers Campus, yes.
So I hope they, when they're doing all this, I hope they add more trees and shading and stuff too, because that's a big complaint that I've heard from people.
Yeah.
So, but it's good that they're putting in another attraction. So it's not just 3 attractions. We've actually going to have 4 attractions in this land, which is a good thing. And if you count, does that include the tower attraction?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, because they incorporated it into this land.
Correct.
So
yeah. So really, when that land opened, it only opened with
added
one,
and they had like a walk around thing with the the wizard character.
Oh, they had like a
They're
stage
getting
show
rid of
thing
that.
with Doctor Strange.
But it was always there to walk around even when the show
Yes.
wasn't going on. It was kind of an interestingly themed area, but they're getting rid of that. So that's taking something interesting out. Like, it was really the only visually interesting outdoor thing in the whole land. So
Right.
So that is DCA.
Yep.
And now we're going to talk about Disneyland, the original Magic Kingdom park. And not a lot, but a couple interesting things were announced. One thing that came as a big surprise, well, first of all, they announced the opening date. And this is not in order at all, because this didn't happen first. But they announced the opening date for Tiana's Bayou Adventure in the California version will be November 15th. That was big news, because we had no idea. We only knew end of the year. So now we know. We'll see if that actually happens. I've heard rumors that that's going to be cutting it close. So we'll see if it really does happen. But the biggest thing that was surprising to me, personally, was they're renaming Critter Country to Bayou Country. Now, I don't have a problem with having a land. In fact, it's great to have a land called Bayou Country. And I never really liked the name Critter Country to begin with. I always felt it was a weird name. But the problem I have with calling this area Bayou Country is the only thing that's Bayou related is this attraction. And everything else around it has nothing to do with Bayou. And I don't see that they're really changing the landscaping or the buildings. They're retheming the shops as far as merchandise and perhaps the decor of what's inside the shops. But the buildings aren't changing. And they're also changing the Hungry Bear restaurant to a Country Bear Jamboree themed, heavily themed Country Bear Jamboree, which I love the idea, I fully support, but what does that have to do with Bayou? That's like, the original landscaping they did for this area was supposed to be like where I live currently, the northwestern pine woods, and it still remains so. That's what it still looks like now, because they brought in all sorts of pine trees and they did all the landscaping to make it look like that. And they're not changing any of that. Not only that, they have this Country Bear thing, which has completely nothing to do with Bayou. And then next door is Canoes, which has even less to do with the Bayou. It's the Old West, like the Native American things from like the Southwest. And then next to that on the other side is a Winnie the Pooh attraction. And that takes place, if you think about it, Winnie the Pooh is set in England. And in like the 100 Acre Wood in the original stories is England. And Christopher Robin has an English accent and it takes place in England. So it's like, when you go to Magic Mountain, think about this. Each individual attraction is themed. But it's like, okay, this is themed and the next door is this and it has another theme, and the next door to that is this and it has another theme. So even though the attractions may or may not have a theme, and even when they're themed, they're not very strongly themed. But it's just like every single individual thing is a separate theme that has nothing to do with. And to me, that's what you call an amusement park. That's not what you call a theme park. A theme park, the entire area and everything you see around you has one theme, and it's immersive and it makes you feel like you've left the real world and you've entered a new world. And this area has turned into a mishmash of attractions that have nothing to do with each other. And even though one attraction has a distinctively Bayou theme, nothing else in this area has anything to do with a bayou. I think it would have been better to just keep the name Critter Country. It would have made more sense, because then you can, say, well, Winnie the Pooh is a character, is a critter. He and his friends are critters. The bears from the Country Bear Jamboree are critters. And the characters inside Tiana's are critters. So at least it makes some sort of sense, even though but to call it Bayou Country is just completely stupid. It makes no sense, and it really is a dumbing down of what Disneyland is supposed to be. And also, again, something Walt was adamantly opposed to, because they had parks back when Walt built Disneyland that had attractions that had themes, but they were just that attraction, and then next door was something else that had a theme, but it was not the same theme. And this was one of the things that really annoyed Walt about parks, amusement parks, and why he wanted to do something different. So this really annoys me. It really, really pisses me off. I mean, seriously. I know it seems silly to some that this of all things would annoy me. But it's just like a complete disregard for what Disneyland is supposed to be and what it stands for. It's not that I have a problem with these individual things on their own. I really don't. I've even come around to accepting Tiana's Bayou Adventure as, I've come around somewhat to that idea of that being a thing. But having them together is what my problem is. They don't belong together. It doesn't make any sense. If you want to call this Bayou Country, you need to redo the whole land. and have everything fit that theme. Otherwise, it's just not even worth going to Disneyland, because you could go to, any park and experience that type of thing. So, anyway, I went on and on about that. How do you feel?
I mean, I agree with you in general, not nearly as deep as what you just went into. But I know that they are currently, this land is closed, and they have ripped it all up. So they are doing something to the land. So I would rather wait and see what it ends up looking like when they reopen it.
Well, even if they are, they're still going to have the Winnie the Pooh and the Country Bears and the canoes. So it still doesn't make any sense. But I do not believe that they are actually doing any new landscaping. They're just sort of cleaning up the area, repainting, putting in.
No, they are landscaping. It's dirt right now.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll see.
It's dirt. Yes.
But the surrounding area is still pine trees. They don't have pine trees in the bayou. They don't exist there. It's not a thing. So we'll see what happens. But even if they do redo the landscaping, which I think they might sort of do it a little, but not fully. Like, they'll redo the landscaping in the actual walking areas, but not the surrounding landscaping. It's still no good, because they have too many competing themes that have nothing to do with it being bayou. And that might even make it worse, because now you have all these, moss trees and, stalactites and things that look bayou-ish next to a Winnie the Pooh attraction, and that makes even less sense. So, you have a wait-and-see attitude. I kind of already know what it's going to be, and so I don't need to wait. I'm already upset about it. But anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, we only have a couple more things to go through, so let's get through it here. The next thing they announced for Disneyland, which is already in the works, is a new audio animatronic show that's going to be in the Main Street Opera House. Mm-hmm. And this will be a audio animatronic of Walt Disney himself. And the new show is going to be titled Walt Disney: A Magical Life. And guests will get a chance to imagine what it would be like to visit Walt's office. And this is actually one of the things, they didn't really specifically say this, but I'm pretty sure that this is for Disneyland 70, the 70th anniversary, because what they're going to do is, on its initial run, this is going to be the only attraction that's running in the Opera House, but then after its original rotation, then it will flip-flop back between this Walt Disney Magical Life and Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln.
If you look at the bottom in front of Walt's feet, you can see there's half of a turntable. So this set will rotate, and on the other side will be Abraham Lincoln. So they can run both shows at the same time without any effort. And eventually they're either going to rotate, like do Lincoln, Walt, Lincoln, Walt, Lincoln, Walt, or have Walt in the morning and Lincoln at night, or vice versa.
Vice versa, yeah.
But the feeling is, and Disney did not say this, they did say it's going to be, Lincoln is not going anywhere, and they even showed the artwork for the new Lincoln set, and how it will look when it rotates to the other side. So we know that's definite, but they did not say that Walt will run continuously all the time in the beginning. But everyone is sort of guessing that would be the case, because it makes sense. Because everyone's going to want to see this new show in the beginning. So,
well, I think what they're going to do is, when the 70th started, it will be the whole time, kind of similar to, they did something on the 50th anniversary in there, that they had the
Steve Martin film.
That movie running in that theater. But then, they eventually went back to Lincoln. But of course, they can't flip-flop between that movie and Lincoln. So they have it now on a screen in the foyer area. Right. But I think it's going to be like that. So like 18 months of just the Walt Disney show, and then go back to flip-flopping.
Right. So the other thing that Disney announced that they had the support of the Disney family, and even the Disney Family Museum is helping them with this project. But then a few days later, one of the ancestors of Walt Disney came out and said that she was opposed to this. So they do have people in the Disney family that are supportive of this, but there are people that are opposed to it. So I don't know what to make of that. I do know that when Walt was alive, somehow the question had come up about ever doing an animatronic of himself. And he said no, he did not want that. But that was when he was still alive.
Right.
And it would have been weird for him.
Right.
So, you know, they do have animatronics currently of people that already are alive in the Hall of Presidents at Disney World.
Mm-hmm.
And also, one time, the Great Movie Ride had quite a few animatronics of people that are still alive, including Julie Andrews, Sigourney Weaver. There's Indiana Jones. So it's not like they haven't done this before. It's not a new thing to make an animatronic of a living person. It's been done many, many times before. The problem is that with this, they have to do it right, or there will be a lot of negative press, and they have to handle this with kid gloves. I feel that they know that, and that they will.
Mm-hmm.
I've also heard through the grapevine that they do plan on using actual audio of Walt Disney. They're not going to re-record an actor or use AI to make, you know, a recording. They're not going to put words in Walt's mouth. They're going to let him speak for himself, and it'll be actual archival recordings of Walt. And with modern technology, they'll be able to clean up the audio, remove background noise, and do all those things, but it will be authentic. My concern, and this doesn't need to be a concern because they may not do this. There's a very strong possibility this will never happen, and I'm worried about nothing, but they might decide to edit his words, cut and paste, to make him say things that he didn't really mean, to give the wrong impression, to sort of give the idea of what the company stands for today by rearranging his words instead of using authentic words in the proper context. I don't know that they will do that. That's sort of just a fear, but there's no reason that I legitimately would think that they would do that. And I hope they don't. And I have just as much reason to believe they wouldn't do that as I do to be afraid that they would do that. Mm-hmm. The fear is in not knowing. The other thing they said is this is going to be the most sophisticated animatronic that we've ever done. And I think they're really concerned about the whole uncanny valley problem. Especially in this theater, you get if you sit up close, you can really, really see the animatronic. It's not that big of a theater. It's not like Hall of Presidents. So you will really be able to see his facial features and things. So I think they've reached a point in technology where they're able to overcome the uncanny valley thing. And I think that's what they were really waiting for. Because they want to do this right. They want to make it look like shocking how realistic he looks. Where you don't look at it and go, oh, that's a robot of Walt Disney. Where you look at it and you're like, oh my God, that looks like a real person. And I think they may have reached that, if not, totally, at least somewhat convincingly, so that it makes sense. So I don't have a problem with this. But I'm a little concerned because it could go one of two ways. And it'd either be fantastic or really bad. So I hope it's fantastic. And if it is, I'll be very happy. And I don't have. I like the idea of having Walt as an animatronic in his park. So I don't have any concerns about that. I just have a concern about the execution. And from what I've heard so far, they're trying to do this the way it needs to be done, in the correct way. So we'll see. And I'm also concerned about what is the message Walt is going to deliver. Is it going to be an authentic message that Walt would have believed in and said? Or are they going to somehow rearrange his words to toe the contemporary company line, which is a lot different than when Walt Disney was running the company? We pointed that out earlier. So what are your feelings, Ruthie?
So I think this is going to be great. I don't have any of the concerns that you do, because I think that none of that is going to be anything that is going to end up being a concern. I think that this is going to be a very emotional experience. I feel like this is going to be the closest thing that anybody can have to actually meeting Walt. That's what I think that this is going to be. And if that's the case, I mean, you need to hand tissues to people as they walk in. I'm very excited about this, and I know that Walt never wanted his image in the parks. He would have hated the partner statue. But that was when he was alive. His time. Yes. Yeah. Now, we need to keep Walt's legacy alive. The man who he was. We need to remember who he was, where he came from, what he did. And this is another thing too. Having this in the park is going to let other generations know about him, and be curious about him, and want to find out more after they leave this experience. So I am all for this. And you got to think, like, I know some family members are not for this, but
some are. Some are all behind.
Some aren't. But for the ones who are against this, you have to think about this. Walt created the Mr. Lincoln audio animatronic. Right.
And that wasn't, at that time, that wasn't as far back. I mean, that was further back than this will be, but it wasn't that much, not that much time had passed since he was a living person. It had only been 100 years or so since he had been shot in the theater. So this is what? This takes place, this is Walt from the 60s, it looks like, from the pictures. So what? That's 80 years, 70 years ago, 60 years ago. So it's not like that much time is different from when they did Lincoln. So
right. And the other thing is, I know this was back in the 60s, but his audio animatronic was so real that people threw things at it because they thought it was an actor
at
playing
that time.
Mr. Lincoln.
It was that convincing.
Yes.
It's not
so
as...
you think about, that's the technology of 1964, 65. We have, of course, our technology has grown leaps and bounds since then, and I have no doubt that they will do this picture, if the audio animatronic looks like this picture, then that will look like Walt, because this picture to me looks like Walt. So I'm very excited to see what they can do, and I'm very excited to go see this show.
Yeah, I am too. It's not that I'm not. It's just that I share all your feelings, but I'm not as confident as you. I hope that everything you said will be true, but I'm not as confident that it will be. If it is, then it'll be wonderful and I'll be so happy. But I have fears that they're going to screw it up and not do what they need to do. That's my only concern. As long as they do it the way it should be done, then I'm completely 100% happy about it. But moving on, we'll just quickly say that they did show the logo for the first time. At least we assume this will be the logo.
Yeah. Well, they did have it on some merchandise too, so.
Yeah, but that's basically all they said. They just sort of said Disneyland's turning 70 and we'll be celebrating next year. And right after that, they talked about the Walt Disney thing. So we're assuming that is tied into the 70th. But they didn't explicitly say that it was. So That's an
Yeah.
assumption. But it's a
And
strong
they did
assumption.
say the celebration is beginning in 2025. So again,
Right.
with all these celebrations, they last 18 months. Yes,
Right.
they start at the beginning of the year, of the anniversary year,
Right.
and go into
They
half the
made
next
no
year.
announcements about what kind of entertainment, if there's going to be
Right.
like a new fireworks show or parade. They said nothing about any of that. And
Right.
I suspect that there will be, but they just
Mhm.
didn't say anything about it.
Yeah, I'm sure that's coming in the next couple of months.
Right. And then last for Disneyland, we've already talked about it, but the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland is also getting the new, I still call him Baby Yoda. I'll call
It's
it
Grogu.
the Baby Yoda version of Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run.
Yeah, they're getting this new storyline as well.
Hmm. Can I start calling these H fighters? Because we have the T. Are these supposed to be called T fighters? They look more like H fighters. I'm gonna call them H fighters or I fighters.
I don't know the specific
sideways
names
I
of those.
fighters. Those don't have a name,
No, of course they do, because everything has a name in Star Wars.
but
I
it's
don't
not
know
as
the
known.
name.
It's not as known as T fighters and other things. Okay, anyway, we've already talked about that. We have one more area to cover, and that is international parks. Look how great a job I did cutting out this image. I hadn't looked at it this blown up until now. It looked good smaller. Next time I'll be more careful. Sorry. So, we'll talk first about Disneyland Paris, and there were just a couple things, big things though, announced. What was the first one, Ruthie?
So the first one is that Disneyland Paris, so this is the Magic Kingdom Park, is getting a new nighttime spectacular, and it's going to start in January 2025.
And they
did
didn't
not
say
give it
what
a
the
name.
name. Yeah, which is weird because that's
Yeah.
coming up soon. And everything
Right.
else, things that are even further away, they gave names for.
Right. So
It does look like it's going to have a lot of the, just like everything else they do nowadays, it has a lot of the recent IP like Pocahontas, Lion King, Encanto. I see Milan, and then they throw in one, legacy IP, Pinocchio. So, for some, same show, different music, basically. So, I'm not that.
well, I will
thrilled
say
about
that
it.
this is only one image, so this is probably
Yeah.
like the finale. So
Yeah.
you don't know for sure, but
Who's in
the
that
other
rocket
thing is-
ship up above? I
It's
can't.
Stitch.
Oh,
Stitch.
I see now. Okay, I couldn't
Yeah,
tell.
so they're gonna have drones in this
Yeah,
show.
it'll
as well.
combine drones with fireworks because they already are doing the drones there.
Yeah, they are, and it's
So
an
they-
amazing show.
Yeah, and that has a lot of legacy IP, so I like that.
Mhm.
Has a lot of. It has a Dumbo, Casey Jr. It has Elliot, because it's sort of an homage to the original electrical parade. So it has a lot of that stuff in it. So
Yeah.
the next big thing is we've known this for a while, but they are carrying on with the redo of their studio park, and it's getting a new name. What's the new name?
So it's gonna be. It was Park Walt Disney Studios, but now it's gonna be called Disney Adventure World.
Right, and we've known
this is
that too.
already in
We knew the
process.
new name too. Yeah, it's already happening.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll be done spring of 2025.
Right.
And then after that, they're just gonna keep working on construction there because they're gonna be adding
Adding
Arendelle
a
Frozen
bunch of new
section
things.
to it as
Yeah,
well a year
right.
later in
Right.
2026.
Right. And this is going to be a lot like the one in what is the one that already has this? Hong Kong or Shanghai?
Yes.
Hong Kong.
No, it's Hong Kong. Yeah.
Hong Kong already has this. And they're going to have the same dark ride, but they're not going to have the outdoor coaster.
The Wandering Okens.
Right. They're not including that, which is sort of I kind of liked that. I thought that was a great way to use that technology from the Seven Dwarfs, the swaying thing. I thought that was a much better usage of that type of attraction was for this IP, And I feel like it adds so much more to the land having that. So this kind of seems like the second class version of the land, which is kind of a bummer. But maybe they'll add it later, who knows.
Well, maybe not, but they are going to get another newer land after that, which is a land that does not exist currently in any park.
Right.
And that will be Pride Land, which is set to be themed after The Lion King. And it's going to feature the characters and stories from the film and a brand new flume-style attraction that will take guests
which they don't have
Simba's
currently.
journey. Yeah.
They don't have Splash Mountain or Tiana, so they need this.
Yeah. So this is along Simba's journey from cub to king, so the original story.
And also, it looks like in this picture that they're using the live action, but they did confirm that this was an earlier concept drawing, and they are using the animated versions of the characters. Also, the log, because they had a model of the attraction.
They did have,
and
not just the attraction, the whole land.
The whole land, and the log has been reworked, so it's a 3-seater, 3 people across each row. It's not single rider like it looks like in this picture. So they're tripling the capacity. And also, the animals that were shown in the model are the versions from the cartoon. So, even though it looks like the live-action version, quote-unquote live-action, it's not going to be, so you can take a deep breath. A sigh of relief.
Yes.
So, this is amazing. I think this is a wonderful thing. The only thing I have a problem with, and this is not really a problem per se, because they are calling this adventure park, so it makes sense to have different types of adventure things scattered throughout. So I don't have a problem with where it's going, but I just feel like this would work so well in their Adventureland because they have so little in their Adventureland. I think it would add. They don't have a Jungle Cruise, so they don't really have anything African as far as an attraction. And there's so much space for it there too. It's just so much empty space in their Adventureland. I just would love to see this attraction go in their Adventureland. I mean, that's not really a critique. I think it's great idea for an attraction, but, you know, whatever. So anyway, just a couple more things we're going to talk about from the international parks. And there's only 3 parks that we're talking about. We don't have anything for Disney Sea. They just got a whole bunch of new stuff. They can take a break for a while.
Right.
So the first one is Shanghai. What's going there, Ruthie?
They're getting a new Marvel-themed attraction. It's going to be a Spider-Man coaster with high-energy thrills, and it's in the works right now.
Right. I'm not excited about this, and I'll tell you why. It looks like a roller coaster. And I don't like attractions in Disney parks that look like roller coasters. I think that really downgrades parks. I don't mind there being roller coasters in Disneyland if they're indoor, or if they don't look like roller coasters, like Big Thunder does not look like a roller coaster. It looks like a mine train. But this just looks like a roller coaster like that would be at any park, and then they just have like Spider-Man things all around it. So, you know, who cares? You know, I'll ask you this. Is this something that makes you, like, dream one day of going to Shanghai Disney? Like this specific attraction? Yeah, exactly. No. There's other things there that do, but not like this.
I would rather go to Zootopia Land.
Right. Or their version of Pirates looks amazing. Right. This is like, does nothing for me. Doesn't make me want to go. Anyway, next... Hong Kong is also getting a Spider-Man thing.
But not the same.
Not the same attraction. This looks to me like a elevator shaft type situation.
Yeah, like Tower of Terror.
Right, because look, they're all in like a thing, and it looks like it's falling. And Spider-Man is holding it up with his web somehow. So I have a feeling it's going to be like a Tower of Terror themed to Spider-Man. Yeah.
So they have actually a Stark Expo area, so like a specifically themed Marvel area.
It's part of their Tomorrowland. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's adjacent to their they replaced their Star Tours with, or actually they never had Star Tours. They have a flight simulator attraction in the park that is Iron Man themed, and it opened with that attraction. But it's like a Star Tours with a different theme.
And so the area around it too is all Marvel,
right?
Not
it's
just
all
one
Marvel
attraction.
stuff, right?
So this is where it's going to go in that same area, but this is going to be a completely different ride from the Shanghai one, and it just happens to be Spider-Man.
This doesn't bother me because again, it's indoor, and it looks like it has like the vehicle looks like it's unique and has like a theme going around it. So I have no issue with this type of thing. It's only when it looks like a roller coaster it sort of bums me out. I've always hated Gadget's Go Coaster for the same reason. Like, it just, like, and Goofy's Flight School. It doesn't matter what the theme is. It's the fact that it's a roller coaster that looks like a roller coaster in a Disney park that bums me out. And our last, we do have one other thing after this, but our last park announcement specifically, an Asian park announcement, is for Tokyo. And you can probably tell what this is by the picture.
Yeah, they're getting a new nighttime spectacular, and it's going to be called Reach for the Stars. It's presented at Cinderella Castle, and it features beloved Disney characters reaching for the stars and their dreams. And this is going to debut actually next month. So,
and if you look at this,
Tokyo always gets the best shows.
And also, they are more about legacy stuff. Because if you look at this picture, we have 3 representations, and sort of even 4 if you really stretch it, that are legacy properties. We've got Peter Pan represented, Mary Poppins, and Dumbo, and you can kind of squeeze Aladdin in there if you squint. It has also some newer things, of course, but it's mixed with the older things, which that's what I would like to see. I don't mind there being newer things, of course not. But can we have more older things also on top of the new stuff? Can it be more of a blending? And it looks like Tokyo, as always, gets what I wish the American parks would get. And this has a name too, right? What's this called?
Yeah, Reach for the Stars.
Reach for the Stars. That's right. You already said that.
Yeah.
And last but not least, well, yeah, actually least, in my opinion, we're going to talk about the Disney Cruise Line. Again, I did a wonderful job cutting out this graphic. But Disney announced what, Ruthie?
So they announced more ships. So that currently they're in the middle of a big expansion right now with 3 new ships that have not opened yet, which is the Disney Treasure, Destiny, and Adventure. But they're going to add 4 more ships. So the 4 new ships will set sail between 2027
They didn't
and
name them, did they?
No, not yet.
No.
But it's between 2027 and 2031. So by 2031, Disney Cruise Line will feature a total of 13 ships.
They need to take one away or add one more. That's unlucky.
Lucky number 13?
Yeah, they need to fix that. Anyway, you just made me think of something. Destiny is the name of one of the ships they're currently building.
Yes.
When I adopted Lily, that was her name originally, before I changed it. Anyway, I just want to say a couple things to wrap it up. That's our final announcement. But, I've said everything I have to say about what was announced, but now I'm going to say something about what wasn't announced. So a lot of people were thinking about Zootopia going to DCA. That didn't happen. That would have been nice, but that doesn't mean it's not going to, because they have a whole bunch of room for new stuff with Disneyland Forward. That brings me to my next section. They did not mention at all Disneyland Forward. They may have, and we don't know it, because some of what they announced for DCA may be planned for Disneyland Forward, but they just didn't tell us. But they didn't specifically mention Disneyland Forward. those things are okay that they didn't mention because maybe they're just not ready to mention them yet. But one thing that I was really disappointed is that they did not mention about doing anything with Tomorrowland in Disneyland. And that was a huge disappointment for me personally because I've been wanting them to do something with Tomorrowland for a decade or more. And I don't know why they keep putting it off. I know why. It has everything to do with the color green. But I just wish that they would get over their trepidation and really do what needs to be done with Tomorrowland. And I think as much as Villains Land had a standing ovation, had they said about their plans for a new Tomorrowland at Disneyland, that would have had people in the audience like passing out in excitement.
Right.
That's like what every Disney fan wants. That and I mean every video I watch about people talking about DCA this year, that's all anybody is saying is why did they put off Tomorrowland again? The other thing they didn't talk about is how they've been sort of hinting at doing sort of a new additions to Fantasyland in California with the Fantasyland Theater becoming something else, and that was not brought up, and I think it's because that ties into what they have planned for Tomorrowland, if they do have anything planned for Tomorrowland, which I'm pretty sure they probably do. But with this whole Cars Land way that they announced Cars Land, now I have a brand new fear that the reason they didn't bring it up is because they knew whatever they were going to say, whatever they have planned, would have not been popular and would have gotten boos from the audience. So that's why they didn't mention it, because they're planning to do something to Tomorrowland that nobody in the fandom wants and would be adamantly opposed to. And so that's why they left it off the announcement table. So my fear is they do have plans, but we're not going to like them. I hope I'm wrong. And I hope that they didn't announce it because they do have plans, but they're not ready to announce them. And there's actually good things planned. But now I'm afraid. So I'm afraid, as they say in The Fly. But anyway, that's all I have to say. Ruthie, where can everybody find Jiminy Crickets on the web?
You can listen to all of our past shows, including audio versions of Dateline Jiminy Crickets, over on our website. On our website.
On our web show.
jcricketpodcast.blogspot.com. You can also listen to us on Apple Podcasts under the name Jiminy Crickets. That's with an exclamation point. And be sure to leave us a 5-star review, which helps to promote the podcast. On our YouTube channel, we share updates to the Disney Chris website, including the Disneyland Magical Audio Tour, as well as past episodes of the Jiminy Crickets podcast and Dateline Jiminy Crickets. You can find our channel if you search for DisneyChris.com, and remember, .com is spelled out DOTCOM, and don't forget to subscribe and click on the notification bell. You can also join in the conversation over on our Facebook page, Jiminy Crickets Podcast, where you can not only interact with Chris and me and all the fellow Cricketeers, but you can also stay up to date on all of our latest details of our many World Wide Web endeavors. Sorry.
That's easy for you to say.
Yeah, I know, right? On our Facebook page, Chris can be found under not on our Facebook page, just on Facebook. Chris can be found under the name Chris Linden. That's LYNDON, as in Lyndon Johnson. And on Threads, we can be found at DisneyChris_JC_podcast. If you would like to contact the show with your comments or questions, our email address is DisneyChrisDOTCOM@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you.
Okay. And I have a Twitch show every Thursday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. I almost said Atlantic, Eastern, and it's live, so depending on what time zone, because it's at the same time, so it would be either 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, or 7 o'clock, or if you're watching from the UK, I don't know, what would it be? Midnight? I don't know. It's live. Regardless, it's live. And my Twitch stream is Disney_Chris_audio_fun. And just like the name says, it's audio related. We play songs from Disney movies and from Disneyland. And it's once a week, and we take requests, and we have live chat, and it's a lot of fun. On Facebook, I have a group for the stream, which is called Disneyland Audio Fun. You can look for that and join. Instagram, we are DisneyChris_JC_podcast. That's where I put up a new picture, Disney vintage, colorful picture each day. So if you want to just follow me to see the pictures, you can do that. Or it's also a place where you can get updates to all of our content. Like when I post a new podcast and whatnot, I make an announcement up there. I also remind people about the live stream and all those sorts of things. And I have a website that you're probably mostly aware of called DisneyChris.com. And on there I have thousands of songs from Disneyland and hundreds of songs from Disney movies. And constantly being updated. And every day of the year I have the song of the day, which I post over there. So check out my website. And if you'd like to help support us, I am on Patreon. Patreon.com/DisneyChris. And in exchange for your patronage, we send you rewards every month. So for little as $1 a month, we send you rewards. And as you increase your donation, we give you more and more rewards at different levels. So be sure to check that out. And if you want to just see where all the places that you can donate to and all the different options, you can go to DisneyChris.com/donate.html. That's on my website. And there are links to all the different things, including Patreon. You can make a one-time donation on, I forget what it's called, Ruthie. One-time donation where?
PayPal?
PayPal, yes. Or you can do recurring donations on PayPal, just like Patreon, and you'll get the same rewards for that. And also, we have a website where you can buy merch with our 2 different logos that we've created on t-shirts. Somebody bought a couple onesies for their new baby the other day. I thought I had them up on the site, but I had to add them to the site because they weren't there, but when I thought they were. But if there's something you're looking for that isn't there, you can email me and I can add it, because there are other things that we didn't include. Like at one point, somebody wanted a beach towel, and I added that. At another point, somebody wanted a shower curtain, and I added that. And then I added the onesies the other day for Kara, who's probably listening, and she has a new baby. And so that's it. That's the end of our show. It lasted a long time. At first I thought we were going really fast, and then we got slow at the end. But do you have any final words, Ruthie?
To quote Walt Disney, laughter is timeless, imagination has no age, dreams are forever. Thanks for listening and watching.
And always let your conscience be your guide.
Now it's time to say goodbye to all our company. M-I-C.
See you real soon.
K-E-Y.
Why? Because we like you.
M-O